Mama, we made it! What it do, What's good? Yes. Everybody, welcome to the motherfucking Mama We Made It podcast. We have an extremely special guest with us tonight. A really close brother of mine, White Boy Fly, the fucking great white hype in this motherfucker. Started out as a pizza delivery boy in this bitch playing college ball, videographer, hungriest dude I've met, and one of the most golden souls who's, you know, blossomed into being an incredible music manager. Manages an incredible artist named Super Duper Kyle, and also the collective of Super Duper itself. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the motherfucking stage, Mr. Nolan Smith. What it do, baby?
Mr. Nolan Smith.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That was a very righteous intro.
I appreciate that.
Very righteous
I got
intro.
the prayer fucking hand emoji, the noosh-moji going up right now. It's fucking lit.
Bro, it's an honor to be here, man.
I'm really happy you're here.
Man, I wouldn't be anywhere else, dude.
Yeah, man, thank you so much.
I respect that. On a Tuesday night, motherfuckers out here going to Gun Oak, One Oak, you know what I'm saying? But we here.
Yeah, beautiful vibe. Beautiful vibe.
Man. You know, it's crazy because, you know, I've been able to see Nolan kind of come up through the game, and it's beautiful how in this industry, in the music industry, and also in, you know, entertainment in and of itself, like you cross paths with people, and a lot of the times you cross paths, kind of go your both separate ways, but you always end up crossing paths again because it is so small. And I feel like, you know, Nolan is a spirit that really, really embodies what positivity, drive, and hunger is. You know, I met him when I was tour managing David Dan. We did this one-off in Arizona, and he was out there, you know, doing videography work with this kid named John Brandon Cruz. What up, baby boy? You good? I see you out there.
Shout out to Cruz.
You know
Major shout out to Cruz.
Nolan, I wanted to talk to you because, you know, we've had a lot of epic conversations, and you've spoken about your hunger for music and kind of knowing that this path was something that you wanted to get into from an early age. You know, walk us through that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were playing hoops, but like, what was it about the music bug, and what really made you want to, like, even know that you wanted to be a part of this culture?
Man, so yeah. Wow, where do I start? Well, when I was young, my mom I like to argue, so she always was like, you need to be like an attorney or something like that.
Nice.
And then I started kind of like looking into that when I was in high school, and those fools just seem, I mean, no disrespect, attorneys are very, very necessary, very, very smart people.
You're so politically correct. I love you, bro.
But they just, to me, it's just like, it wasn't very creative. It didn't, you know. So as I kind of like learned about it, just a ton of school, and I was always a pretty, you know, average student, and so I was like, you know what, I don't know if that's for me, but I really like when I saw Jerry Maguire for the first time, I wanted to be a sports agent.
Show me the money, Jerry. Show me the motherfucking money, Jerry.
Yeah, and you were always an athlete.
Yeah, so growing up, ton of baseball and ton of basketball.
Yeah.
And then high school, I played baseball and basketball my freshman year, and then kind of just focused on hoops. And the thing about hoops was, like, growing up, people always told me I was better at baseball than I was at basketball, but I just love the culture of basketball. Like, I wasn't, obviously I could play a little hoop, but yeah, like, the culture of basketball. Baseball was just so slow, and it was just like, you're out there.
You will not catch me in a fucking
and
baseball
like,
game unless I'm just lit as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, it's definitely like, obviously we have, you know, the Dodgers here, so it's like, it's beautiful to go catch a game.
Dodgers.
Yeah, go catch
absolutely.
a game.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the culture of hoops was just so fast paced and so exciting, just very mano y mano, and you know, I fell in love with the grind, honestly, and just I loved working on my game and playing and just training and I just loved every element of it to like just sneakers and that whole culture and all of that. And so I really fell in love with it. And then, you know, I was always one of those people that I tried to be realistic too. It's like I'm a 6-foot point guard. You know what I mean? Not jumping out of any gyms. But I mean, it's not that I'm not athletic, but I'm not jumping out of any gyms, and you know what I mean. And so I was like, you know, what am I gonna do after I get done playing hoop? You know what I mean? And I just saw some different opportunities, and I really fell in love with music. You know, always a huge hip hop fan from as long as I could remember. Like I think one of my first albums was Juvenile 400 Degrees when I was like third grade. You know,
I feel you.
Yes.
It was like the first. My older brother bought it for me for Christmas, and it was like the first parental advisory joint that like my mom let me rock. You know, before that I was listening to like DMX tapes and shit, and like stealing stealing like, you know, shit out of my older brother's room and like bumping it, and you know. So always just super big fan of hip hop culture and like just all the music and really like dug into it and like loved the album artwork and collected shit and like read all the hip hop magazines and collected those, and so that kind of went hand in hand with the basketball shit, because I always saw like the basketball players like talking about how they were inspired by the music and vice versa, and so
the cultures are very intertwined.
You had Shaq's rap album too.
Yeah, you know what? I was actually just watching the 30 for 30 joint, and I saw how like, yeah, Shaq was genius. I you know what? To be honest, that was like I don't know if Shaq was that dude, but I thought that how he like the whole thing with him rapping on Arsenio Hall's show when he was a rookie, like I thought that was like genius marketing.
Word.
Like I'm looking back on that and going,
Yeah.
that was
So
wavy.
great.
Like imagine being a rookie, a rookie basketball player and like doing like a full performance on like national TV and shit.
You're
It was
just a giant too.
yeah,
It was-
giant and like
he
had
had-
swag and like
Oh,
was actually a tight rapper. You know?
Yeah, he was like
There's
hard.
so many ballers that just aren't tight. You just like,
Oh,
bro,
yeah,
like, why'd you
yeah,
even
yeah.
go there?
Yo,
Yeah.
shout out to Shaq.
Yeah.
So you were hooping.
Yeah, and I think that's what, you know, hooping gave me a ton of confidence, you know, in just being able to like work hard and achieve some goals. You know what I mean?
It set a structure for you.
Yeah, and you know, and so I pursued hoop after high school and really wanted to make sure, you know, I like saw through that dream of like playing Division I basketball. I didn't get to play Division I basketball, played community college, but yeah, so. Played a little community college hoop, and then during that time, when I was about 18, that's when I started like digging into blogs.
Word.
I actually tell you the story, and I gotta tell the story like the right way. But
Get in there.
my younger brother was like on MySpace. He must have been like 14 or 15 at the time, and he was like found Cool Kids.
Word.
And
What
so
year was this around?
this is probably 2000. I want to say 2008.
Okay.
So this is still early in the Cool Kids thing.
Yeah.
Cool Kids aren't at their height yet.
Yeah.
It's still early. And he's put me on to Cool Kids, and so I was like bumping Cool Kids, and I was like, oh, this shit's fresh. And so we went to this Cool Kids show at the Key Club, which is now Gun Oak. One Oak. It's now One Oak, and I actually still like going there because it like gives me that energy, even though it's a totally different thing now.
All day. You know, the only reason I bring up Gun Oak, shout out to my boy Ron. He's a designer over at 5'4", but like. He went there one time, like a few weeks ago, and like gunshots were popping off. So like he went from One Oak to Gun Oak. It was fucking hilarious to me. But back to fucking the transition from, you know what I'm saying, Key Club to One Oak.
So we pulled into the Key Club, and it was like an all ages show or whatever, and it was kind of like one of my first like more underground kind of hip hop joints where it was like not a big concert. It was like low key club vibe. And so we're waiting for the Cool Kids to come out, and this group hits the stage, and it's just these like super swagged out LA fools, 3 of them. They got like a mascot dressed up in like a basketball uniform. These fools are like dipped in like streetwear, just like looking hella cool, and the crowd like reacts to them and knows who they are, and I'm like, this isn't the Cool Kids, like who the fuck is this? And I'm watching this shit, and I'm like watching the crowd like vibe to this shit, and they're like very in it, and like, and the bars were like super hard, and the hooks were like super catchy, and it was like very West Coast, but it was also like lyrical, and I'm like watching this, taking it all in, watching everybody dig it. It's like a packed house. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't even know who these guys are. Like who is this? You know what I mean? And I'm like, asking around to like people who are like rocking to it, and they're kind of like shining me on, like just still rocking to this shit, and I'm like, what is going on? And then finally, like they get through the song, and then like, yo, we go by the name Pacific Division, Pac Div out of LA, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's, you know what I'm saying? I'm like taking notes. I'm like, I gotta like look these fools up because that shit was tight. You know what I mean? And so like literally from that moment on, like I feel like I fully fell in love with like this underground, like
it hit you.
It hit me because I was like, I don't know what this is, but this shit is tight, and it's and as I got to dig into the music more and really like learn more about, you know, just specifically Pac Div, I was like, oh, I can really relate to these cats. Not only did they all like come from playing hoop, but they were just like some real normal dudes, but very talented, and they had, you know, great taste. Their influences were like all shit I love, Tribe, you know, De La, like all that like really, really cool OG shit. And so, and they were doing it, and nobody, you know, at that time, the underground and the mainstream were very separate. There was like the big fucking juggernaut artists, and then like the dudes on the internet and on the blogs and on MySpace.
And the West was like still at bay at that point.
The West was very, very low key. This is way prior to YG. This is way prior to this is prior to Nipsey. This is prior to anybody.
This is low key prior to Kendrick being K.
Whoa, no, this is like and I could even talk about that, but I've seen Kendrick open for Pac Div before. So like, and that was probably even a year after this specific show. So honestly, what it did was it just kind of cemented like in me, like it just was a moment where I was like, wow, this shit is very ill, and like the cool kids are really dope, but like they're not the only ones like kind of making this brand of music that's like for us, you know, for us like fucking like young college kids, like high school kids, cool kids. Yeah. And so I kind of like went back and like backtracked and like literally went on MySpace and dug up everything like super fan style, like finding like little freestyle clips they would put on YouTube. Sean G will laugh. Shout out to Sean G. But I dug up Lever 2000 like mixtape that Sean G put together that had like Tehran and Aomari, had I'm forgetting people, but you and I, this whole like very, very
family, bro,
underground LA, you know, like cool shit, and so I kind of like I dug into that, like I hope the Pac Div boys are listening to this because I gotta send it to them maybe to get them to listen to it, but just so we can talk about it, but. Yeah, I remember they had this. I remember they had this kite phone, and it's like crazy. It was this like weird social media thing where they were like, it was Snapchat before Snapchat. It's like you could like, it was a specific phone where they like film each other and then it would upload directly. And I would always be checking their MySpace for that shit because they were like one of few people, who were checking it out. Or who were like testing this shit. But it was dope because it was like live content from like behind the scenes cool shit from like my favorite artists. Wow. So
it's crazy how fucking MySpace was like the hub of all hubs, bro.
That's been a few times mentioned on this podcast so far. Is like what MySpace, the importance of that for the music industry during that very like short amount of time, but what it did for like discovery, for networking, to like it was, people forget like MySpace was such a catapult for so many artists.
Yeah, I mean honestly, like. I think SoundCloud is achieving some of what MySpace kind of started, but no other social media has still even achieved that. Because you know what it was you'd put a song as your profile song, and now it was you. It was like your swag. It was like it was damn near your profile page. It might as well have been your profile picture.
And so many people came on from that. Like if you had like, you know, a famous person who had like, who said that?
Brian.
Who? Oh, Brian. Sorry. Yeah. Brian from the Fisticuffs.
Like they did some Miguel records, and then like these like, you know, MySpace models had Miguel shit popping that they had produced.
Like one of the songs that they had, and they're like, or if you were in someone's top 8, like it was just such a cool way for music at that time.
No, it was good access, you know. It was fun to kind of like keep up with these cats that I was just fans of. And so I just immediately pretty much got like deep with it. Like I immediately like from that I kind of like backtracked and started like seeing all the blogs, like Ill Roots 1, like before even Ill Roots 2.0. This shit was like on the most like generic WordPress thing, but Mike Wax was doing his thing and finding the coolest shit. And like, I remember listening to like early ass Lil Wayne and Drake leaks on there, and like, you know what I mean, before they became like huge records,
like
and
Ransom,
like
that,
and like I remember there was like some weird Drake leak that had, it was like either a Lil Wayne leak or a Drake leak, something that had like 4 or 6 tracks of like both them on it. And that was like when Drake first kind of like burst on the scene. But the MySpace thing was crazy, and then just digging into the culture, and then kind of like really quickly starting to be like, oh, I really like how they marketed this. I really like how they dropped this. I really like the timing of this. Like, kind of starting to pay attention to marketing shit. Yeah. And like, kind of trying to figure out where I fit in it. Because I just fell in like such a deep love with it that I was like, this has to be me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, you know, because you're 18, you're thinking about what I'm gonna be when I grow up, and now it's becoming real. You're in college now, and like you're starting to get to pick classes and get to actually decide what you do with your free time.
Yep. You have to start thinking about what your future holds.
Do you have any musical talent? Do you play any instrument?
You know what's funny is I mean, in like 6th and 7th grade, I played a little like saxophone. My parents kind of forced me to do that. I got out of that shit quick.
Vibes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's so interesting.
I mean, I wish that, you know, it's funny in retrospect. I wish that I could. And in high school, it was always like, whenever I had homies who were like tight at piano, I was always like, find myself like being like, yo, play this. Yeah. Can you play this hook? Can you play this? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like the natural progression, like if you're a super fan and you dive in, I feel like the natural progression isn't like, all right, let me see how they did their marketing. Like,
it's so corny.
I just feel like the natural progression is like, they could do it. I want to do this. Let me get a keyboard and start producing hip hop beats, right? Yeah. Like that's normal. Like someone who wants to get into hip hop during that time, especially, is gonna like. It's so accessible to, you know, the equipment isn't that expensive. You get Pro Tools and an MBox and a keyboard. You're like, all right, you know, let's start making beats. Like that's the natural progression.
Yeah, no, and that's
like how are they getting more followers on MySpace?
You know what's crazy? Yeah. Like knowing Nolan, right? And like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna make a really like wild assumption.
I just wanted to point that out, though.
Not like that. This is
very
great.
Similar, because even myself, like getting thrown into music, like I was just scared of the music shit. But like Nolan has a gift of gab, bro. Like this dude was always like asking questions, like really curious about different shit. So I feel like his skill set was just like, holy fuck, like how are they doing this? And then like, how can I be a part of doing shit?
Well, okay, so to kind of like go back to what I was talking about is I wanted to be Jerry Maguire already.
Right.
So I never wanted to be the guy. I just want to be the guy next to the guy. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather not. And it's funny because you say that, and that's such a good point. But like, it's funny because I just never. I don't even rap. Like I don't even write raps. Mm-hmm. Like I'm such a fan of it, but and everybody like lies and be like, oh, I bet you've written some raps, and I'm like trying to even think about one time where you can look through all my damn notebooks and you'll never see me writing a rap. Like I'm the biggest fan of the shit, and I like am a fan of songwriting, and I'm a fan of like the process and music making, and I like learning about it and shit. But I've never been like, let me like get in. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's like, it's really weird. And maybe at that time too, I was also like a little older where I felt like cats who were rapping were already doing it. Like I was something that had respect for the game. Word. Like I have respect for the game. Yeah. And that's the same thing with like sports and shit. It was like, I'm like, dude, I've been playing basketball since I was 2. Like, you're not just going to pick this shit up now and beat me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what I was probably already thinking about. I'm like, these fools are like a couple years older than me. Like, this isn't a game that I'm just going to like hop into and like be the dude.
Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean? And so that could be, you know, like, so I've never wanted to be the artist. I've always respected the role that the artist plays. And I think that it's like, you know, it's everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm just a fan of music, but I've just never really wanted to be the artist, you know?
What was that first moment for you? Like, oh shit! Like your first kind of foot in.
Yeah. So from there, it kind of started happening fast because, like I said, I started digging in.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, wait a second. Like, I see how this is going. These people are like creating content. That's how they're gaining fans. You know, they need people to help them create content because nobody really has any money. And, you know, and then I started just having ideas like, oh, I could help you know, I could help them produce content. Oh, like, and then I just started getting really passionate. And honestly, so it was like that. There's actually two parts to that story.
Word.
So these Pac Div fools were dipped in the hundreds, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that brand was either.
Oh my, yeah.
So this is 2008, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hundreds is. This is early hundreds. And I go back and I'm like, first of all, these fools are ill as fuck. One. Then they had the illest gear on too.
Yeah.
I'm
Shout
like,
out
what
to
the
Ben
fuck?
and Bobby.
Yeah, no, straight up, shout out. And so then I like, not only did I do that, but I went on, found the hundreds, and I'm like, oh, they got an online store, and I started copping shit. And then I was like the only one of my homies who had like this 100 shit, and everyone was like, oh, this shit is super cool, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And this is, and obviously way before like this streetwear was really big and shit like that. But like, then I started going on the hundreds blog, and Bobby is just like,
Bro,
the
hundreds,
best.
hundreds have like one of the illest blogs ever, and like it started that way.
Yeah. Oh.
Like these dudes' blog content is stupid. But continue.
Yeah.
Forgive
No.
me.
Yeah.
I
No.
felt like, hey,
Absolutely.
sorry, let me fuck with you real
No.
quick.
Absolutely. And so like totally, people who know the Hundreds blog know the Hundreds blog. It's like
It's fucking
phenomenal,
historic, bro.
Yeah. And so Bobby was just such an insane storyteller and like obviously marketer and photographer and graphic designer, and he told these stories every single day on the blog, and I like felt like I started learning how to market via them. I started understanding the storytelling, why they were doing these collaborations, why they had these different artists in it, why like I was studying this shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so from there I was just like, wait a second, I'm kind of seeing how all this is working. There's like, got super passionate about like the streetwear shit, got super passionate about this hip hop shit, and I'm like, where do I fit in this?
Yeah.
Because I want to be involved. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to sit on the sidelines, you know what I mean? And so pretty quickly I started just kind of like networking, and I just started pulling up to like the events that like nobody goes to. Like, you know, they would have like their big LA show, but then they would also have like the homeboy would be DJing at this, and it would like hit their like socials, and I would like pull up with like homies or like girls or like whoever, and I would pull up, and then I would like start running into these fools and then just like introduce myself, and I would start just like talking cats' ears off, you know what I mean? And like just vibing with them, and just, you know, I was just I think that, you know, I'm fortunate that they kind of accepted me.
Well, you're a passionate dude.
Yeah, one way or another, because I was like probably this annoying 19-year-old kid like trying to sneak in the club and then like bothering them low key. You know what I mean? I think I probably tried to kind of play it cool, but I don't know how well it went over. But they always showed me love, and like, you know, I definitely like supported them. Like I remember going to like the first Dom Kennedy show, like after 25th Hour, like damn near what was the Future Street Drug Sounds mixtape release party at Cinespace.
Nice.
On fucking like what is it, Hollywood Boulevard, and like pulling up and like meeting Gavin, and like there was like 30 people there.
Yeah.
Like I shit you not. And I was like, it was like the coolest shit in the world to me. At least the music was at that time.
Yeah.
And so when I like pulled up and I'm like, there's 30 people here. This fool's from LA. I'm like, I'm early on this. Like I'm hip to this shit.
No,
you know?
you're living in LA right now.
Yeah.
At this time.
At this time, no. So I'm in Ventura. I'm an hour north in Ventura.
So you're just
you're driving.
So I'm just driving.
Oh, wow.
I'm just driving out. I had like a little whip, and I was like delivering pizzas and playing hoop and like going to school. And in school, I was trying to take like classes. I'm like trying to take graphic design classes, photography classes, marketing classes, music. And then I started, like I told y'all, I started like hitting Amazon, started hitting like all the music industry books, and just started reading all the text.
So you're just still trying to discover like how
I fit in. Yeah. And honestly, you know, when I really realized I fit in was when like Asher started dropping shit.
Really?
Because the Asher shit like made a lot of sense to me, because I'm like, okay, here's this like white kid, you know, in college, and I'm like seeing it all make sense, but it's like still cool, and he's like very, very talented.
Yeah.
And then like I saw like Scooter behind the scenes, because somehow Scooter like was kind of like right in the mix. You know what I mean? He was like this smart marketing cat, and I was just like, I want to be Scooter. You know what I mean? That's when I was like...
that was your first kind of...
That was my first manager that I was like, I want to be this cat.
Okay. That's interesting, because Scooter was kind of like... You don't really hear of managers being in the front so much, right? Or being like... aspiring to, like, when you're in the like artists, right?
Yeah.
You don't really know managers from the public view.
Yeah.
But Scooter was a dude you did know in the public
Yeah.
because he was so in it.
Yeah.
So that was cool because it kind of gave you someone to latch on to, someone to look up to, or someone to like just reach out to. Where I think most people who are, when we were saying, who are impacted by music or influenced by music, they want to start making music because that's all they can relate to. They can relate to the artist. But you were, influenced by now the manager who's like in the public enough
to me to like be able to like
right.
follow his steps. Yeah.
Yeah, not knowing where to go is be like, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
That guy feels like me. I could do that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
Man.
And I started learning more about Scooter too, and how he like played hoop, and he, like was this marketing cat, like promoted parties. Cause at the time I was like throwing my own little curated events and bringing people together. And I just really liked that energy of bringing people together. And like, I started my own little blog, Ventura's Finest. And I would try to post like daily on there, and I would just be putting people up. Cause I had just an interesting peer group, and it's like a kind of a smaller community out there. And so the shit that I was finding out about, I was like, I need to share this. Yep. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm enjoying this shit so much. And to this day, I don't even know if like anyone cared really. Yeah. But it was almost like I was doing it for myself. Yeah. And it was like
giving back to what like the community that gave to you.
Yeah. And I was kind of just exactly like I
or at least a platform that gave to you.
Yeah, and I was really passionate about, and I still am, about like the Ventura community. And like I just was like, yo, like this is such a cool place to be. It's such a beautiful place, and like we don't have a ton of like cool music culture or fashion shit, and we don't really have any like kids doing anything cool. So I wanted to like throw cool events, put people up on cool music, like encourage all my local artist homies to like, do a great job, and like put out like mixtapes and help them with like put it out there, and like throw their events and shit like that. And so I kind of just started like working with different like local cats, and then meanwhile like inserting myself in the culture out here, and just like being a part of it, and going to all the parties, and just like meeting everybody, and like just enjoying myself, and yeah. And then so like once I saw Scooter kind of doing it, I was like, that's what. And I have these like probably like, I don't have a MySpace account anymore, but I have these like weird cryptic like messages that I sent Scooter when I was like 18 or 19, like, yo, just show me the way. Like, show me the way. I'll move out to Atlanta. And then him like literally respond being like, what? And I was just like, and I was probably like, this is like his personal MySpace page. Fool isn't like checking it, and people aren't hitting him with like shit like this on there.
Show me the way.
But then I was just like, but then I remember being like, no, like I fuck with you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to blah, blah, blah. I want to like,
come out intern.
I want to like, yeah, like I'll come, like I'll enter whatever, right? And so I kind of like planted that seed with just different people that I fucked with and respected, and just, the first one really being Pac Div was like just starting out as like a fan, who's someone who's like really inspired by their music, and then immediately something about me is like always like, oh, I can help make this better, and you know what I mean? It's like. It's sometimes being a fan is never enough. I always have like an opinion about it, which I don't know if is a character flaw or if that's like what allows me to do what I do. But yeah, I was always like, man, I fuck with Pac Div, and I really fuck with this video. But I think that if they did this, this, and this, like, you know what I mean, or whatever.
Well, during that time, like how many times did you, I'll just say, get rejected? Like because it must be, you hear about people wanting to break into the industry. For you, it sounds like you wanted to break into it, but you were really being super aggressive on more like not breaking in, but finding where you fit in. Now, in doing so, I'm sure from the Scooter Bronze to Pac Div, how many people were like, all right, dude, yeah, we'll hit you up later, and just never responded to you? Or like, did you face any of those barriers, like, or any moments where you felt this is just really tough to get in?
Yeah, I don't know, because I think that I always kind of like, I had like a decent amount of self-awareness where I wasn't just like, a lot of people will hit me. I'll notice that I always like, I'm interested in the people that approach me, because I was thinking about my approach and how I approach the people that I wanted to work with and for. And I feel like sometimes like I don't know, I'm kind of like doing circles here, but like I kind of didn't really like put myself out there unless I was like I said, like to Scooter. And with the Pac Div dudes, I just remember going like, yo, I've been shooting a ton of photography. I'd love to like create some content for you guys.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Man,
and then they were like,
cool, came at him on some like, I have value. Bro.
I'm going to provide value. Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
important.
And so,
instead of like, yo, what's good, dog? Like, can
like,
I
hey,
come
let me
fuck
just
with
be
y'all?
around you.
yeah, which is like, that is a vibe that I'm like realizing that's really what I wanted. I wanted to just to be around y'all and like learn from y'all. You know what I mean?
But you knew enough to.
But
add value.
I knew like if I want to be around them, like I need to provide some sort of value.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so
Super important.
it was crazy.
Absolutely.
Super important.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and that, I mean, and we'll probably come back to that, but that is like crucial.
Yeah.
That is crucial. Like, I mean, just within any relationship, it's like here as friends and stuff like that. It's like, you know, you got to provide value.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That the relationship needs to like, whether it's whatever type of value you think you can provide someone else, you do that. You know what I mean? You provide that for them, and it'll come back. You know?
Well, I think that's why it's like, you know, people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think that's like complete bullshit personally, because I think it's like, well, you could know everyone, but like you have to provide something. You have to give to get. You have to like add something
Absolutely.
to help this and improve your worth, especially in this industry. It's not like, oh, let's just blindly fucking network and shake a lot of hands and just be around people and then something's going to come to me. You do have to create your opportunity in this.
Yeah.
You know?
And honestly, you don't have like a zillion shakes at it either. Like when people hit me now about like certain things and they'll be like, oh, I got an opportunity here, and I'm going, okay, cool, like I'll listen to what you got, and then it like completely falls flat and I'm like, that nah, like, you know what I mean? Like you're not thinking like I'm thinking, or you're not like, you haven't been watching what I think. It's like I was such a student of the game.
Okay.
I was such a student of the game that I wasn't going to provide some bullshit for these people.
Let me
The
ask you
value I
something.
was going to provide them, I had watched so meticulously like what they were doing and how they were moving that I was like I wasn't going to fuck it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
One thing I want to know is because it's easier to do that with artists specifically, right?
Yeah.
Because like artists are in their artist zone, and then when they have like hungry cats around them or even their boys, like it's like, yo, dog, like I'm actually good at this, or if you guys need any help with anything, merch or videos or this, that, and the other, like let me know. But then when it comes to the point of hitting cats like a Scooter or a Daniel Wiseman, which we'll get to later on, was there a difference in how you were hitting up the artists as to how you were hitting up the managers and executive figures? Because there's a divide in talking with creatives about understanding and appreciating the creative process, but then also being like, how do I, like, because you were like, I want to be in this management shit. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that was your ultimate goal. Right?
Yeah.
So in your head, was there ever a question of like, what do I hit this motherfucker up with?
And
Because
say-
you're asking to take info.
Yeah.
Like instead of just offering yourself up for the mass sacrifice of, bro, whatever the fuck you need.
Yeah,
Like, I'm here.
yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing really, but just know I'm super passionate. I've actually seen your artists here. Like you go super fan level and I can't be like, damn, like this motherfucker's actually out here.
Yeah.
But you're still like, you're not going to go to somebody and say, look, bro, like I'm really knowledgeable about music law, and I'm just thinking like the deal that I was actually reading up on. You're going to be like, look, bro, like how'd you get there? Like if there's anything I can do, I see you guys are coming to town here. I'm actually going to come through if I can get a second from you. Was there a difference in how you hit these dudes?
Yeah,
And did you
like
start to
artist
realize-
and
yeah.
manager. So yeah, I mean, I think that you're just dealing with two completely different beasts. Like artists, just like they want like cool homies who are gonna like bring girls and like weed and like be cool to talk to and like talk shit about sports with. And then like managers, their whole role is to just protect the artist. So they want you to like provide some sort of value and shut the fuck up and like help them.
Yeah.
And then they don't even want you to help the artist. They just want you to help them. Mm-hmm. And so you just have to know both of their grinds and understand what it was. But it wasn't, honestly, I'd like to think that it was really authentic, and I wasn't like, I don't know if I was trying to like, I don't know if it was a personal thing where I'm like, I'm trying to get my foot in the door and I want in and me. It was more that I was just like, damn, I'm a fan of this. Like, I want to get this. It was team oriented. Like, I saw Pac Div. I'm like, how can I help y'all? Like, I believe in you guys. You know what I'm saying?
So
like, how can I help?
Was Pac Div your first?
So yeah, so I ended up hitting like on like AIM, like of Pac Div, and it was funny because I found out that they played hoop against my older brother in high school. Yeah. And so, and in junior college, and we kind of like talked about it. I think they might have been like a year or two apart. And so we just talked about it, and we just started talking shit about hoops. And I don't know, I told him, I was like, yo, I'm a huge fan of y'all. Like, if you guys ever need anything, let me know. And I just would pull up, like I said, pull up to the events, show my face, say what's up, offer, like, be helpful. And then it was, so I just started coming around and like vibing creatively with them and sitting in studio sessions and stuff. And I don't even know how that kind of came about. Probably me like bothering them, like, what are y'all up to today?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, come through, whatever, cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it was like all of those guys are just like great peeps, but like was super. He like kind of like almost managed the crew too, and so he had that kind of mind, and I would be hitting him with like random like marketing ideas. What if y'all did this?
He
what
saw
if y'all
that
did
you were
that?
curious.
Yeah, he saw that I was super curious, and he was just like, yeah, come through. And so I'd come through the studio and just sit and listen, and just vibe, and then be like, yo. And then think about how can I help these guys, you know? And pretty early on in my relationship with them, like I started like, obviously I was like, had picked up the camera and was starting to just super passionate about like digital storytelling, like what Bobby Hundreds was doing, how he's just taking these really cool photos and, you know, combining them with like, you know, words and just telling cool stories about what they were up to as a brand. And so I kind of started doing that a little bit. And then I met John Brandon Cruz, who was very passionate about the same thing, and we had a lot of the same influences, and he was further along in the process than I was.
Yeah.
And he kind of had like his own production company. He had like a lot of really nice equipment, and he kind of got it. He came up in that like storytelling. His dad was like a journalist and stuff like that. And so he kind of like had a good grasp on it. And he was also just into the same music culture. And I was like, yo, like I'm really good boys with Pac Div. I was like, what if we shot like a little like lifestyle like documentary for them, or like catalog their you know trials and tribulations type shit. And he was like, oh, that sounds dope, you know what I mean? Because he wanted to work in music too, and so he was getting different opportunities to shoot for people, and I was kind of like more focused on Pac Div at the time. And so we kind of came together, presented it to the Pac Div guys, and they're like word, let's go. So then they ended up getting this going on tour with NERD, which was Pharrell's last tour and NERD's last tour. I remember right? That, yeah, and Pac Div opened. So we went with Pac Div, and we were just like, you know,
the timing.
Yeah, and like, you know, I think I'm 22 at the time, so this is probably like 3 or 4 years of like. Meanwhile, I'm playing hoop, going to school, but like wanting to get my foot in the door and like trying to mix it up.
You're around though.
I'm around. Yeah. And so that tour with Pharrell, man, was crazy. Opened my eyes to the whole like tour culture. You know what I mean?
Describe that to us.
Man,
you're brand new there.
I'm brand
new.
You're
like fanning out, but at the same time, you're like, I got a responsibility to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, well, we're here with cameras, so how do we soak all of this in? Like, y'all had to cheat low-key.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it was like, you guys wanted to create a meaningful experience and a meaningful product.
Yeah.
But the experience at that moment, like, describe that. Like, what was that like? And what'd you, like, what'd you kind of learn about, you know, because cats have this idea of tour where it's like, even the supporting acts, like, go on the road and you're like, damn, like, well, then y'all gonna be vibing with these cats all day. But it's like, you begin to understand, like, the support is the support.
Yeah.
The openers are the openers.
Yep.
The main act is the main act. Like, on the offshoot chance that cats in y'all's crews are homies, or they have big homies with the main act, like, y'all not, like, saying a prayer together before the fucking show.
Oh, and you're 100%.
And, like, chilling and smoking in their green room. Like, you kind of, like, in your little zone. But it's still that experience. It's still, there's so many people you meet. But, like, what was that experience like for you? Because it's not like you going and just, like, slapping hands with Chad and Pharrell.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all kill it out there. Can y'all say something for the camera?
Yeah.
You're just kind of like.
Yep. Well, so yeah, no.
Head nods,
no, and Anoush knows, just a little background on me. And Anoush is actually, prior to this, Cruz and I went, we were working with these cats. They had this festival called Glow Fest in Arizona. Anoush was representing David Dan as a DJ at the time. And I was like shooting photos and film with my boy Cruz, and we were kind of just documenting that as well. Glow Fest is now Recess. My boy Jack Shannon and Deuce run that, and it's cool because I've gotten to work with them in the recent past. So Anoush had that Anoush has that road experience, as I'm sure the podcast knows. The listeners already know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, you're not like,
even
and I kind of already had that.
We met. It's not like we were. The funny shit is, like, David and I were on that Glow Fest, or you know what I'm saying, jump off for one day. Like, we low-key drove out to Arizona, hit the show, and then went back. Like, it wasn't, like, a part of this thing. But, you know, I remember this. Like, I just saw, like, Nolan and Brandon, like, kicking it. And we kind of, like, got introduced offhand. But it could have easily been, like, all right, bro, cool to meet y'all, whatever. But, like,
and that's it.
I remember we were, like, in the back of the stage. Like, I don't know if it was during sound check or whatever. And it was, like, this huge, like, auditorium area. And then, like, this parking lot in the back with, like, what seemed to be this little hall, and like we were just like,
I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? Nolan had this like slick back hair, looking like fucking math.
He's gonna say McConaughey.
McConaughey and Lincoln Lawyer on Thug. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
Nice.
But like we just started vibing, and like the reason we met was just because like of just like, bro, like I'll talk to everybody, but like you just sense like there was some cool shit about them, and like he was inquisitive and I was inquisitive, and like we were both just chopping it up. But it's beautiful to be able to speak about the intimacies of this road life, because even Joe, you know this shit. You know what I'm saying, as an artist. But it's like in this, it's beautiful for me to like go through the story with you, because you know a big part of what is beautiful to me about this journey is that like everything that people think it really is, it's not.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like the top line is the journey is beautiful. You know what I'm saying? The top line is all these experiences are so formative. But like what people don't understand is what makes it really formative is just being curious and being out there and like being able to soak all of this shit in through every stage that you go to. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like Nolan's gonna come out here and be like, "Oh, I got your drink, Playboy. I see you."
Well, it's not the fantasy that you have in your head of like it's actually like very different.
Yeah, but it's wild for me now because I wanted to get there because like
not in a bad way though. It's actually in just a way different way that's probably even better.
Like bro, when we went on the road with Talib Kweli, like we got really cool with his tour manager, and I got really cool with Talib's DJ Clockwork at the time, who ended up now becoming fucking Mac Miller's DJ.
Clockwork's my guy. I've been on the road with Clockwork too.
Spin to awesome. like respect my African DJ, and this motherfucker is now Talib's DJ. You know what I'm saying? Like
Spin
all of these things come into play here, and like we got close with them, but like it's not like Quad would come and like, what's good, what's happening?
Oh, it's a pecking order. It's a pecking order.
I did see every show. And what ended up having to like bring us really close, and I got really cool with his tour manager, Stephen McDaniel, who's now with BJ, the Chicago kid. Like this shit's really small here.
Yeah,
and we'll speak about this, but I did notice every show, Kweli would come right before Kweli would come on. He'd come watch you and I kill the stage for their last two songs.
Yeah,
never failed. This motherfucker would come out, and Kweli's different because like if you start looking back at his shit, like he'd bring all the artists that he thought were gonna like pop off, like. On Young. But what was that? Now going back through that loquacious ass fucking like little like universe, what was that experience like for you? And like, what'd you really get? Like, because you're still super fan that like is finally getting his op, but your op is still undefined. But like, what was that experience like for you? Like, what you just?
Oh man, it was. I mean, it was amazing. It's incredible. And what you guys are saying about tour is right. It's not. The idea, it's not what exactly people think it is, but it's still the fucking greatest shit ever. It is still the tightest shit ever. Yeah. And I've been feeling that way because we've been off the road for like probably 3 or 4 months now. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting that feeling where I'm getting that itch back. Yeah. And I'm like, we got to get back out there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like, it is the great. So it's like, it's not what you think it is, but it's the greatest thing ever. And I think that all the glitz and glam ideas, there's a lot of that, and then there's a lot of hard shit. There's a lot of hard work. It's damn near one of the hardest things you can do. Yeah. It is literally, physically, mentally, emotionally exhausting.
You made
like you are stretched to your complete.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you are stretched to your complete max. As a human being, you are completely stretched.
Yeah. You may tour the U.S., but like, tell me about a.
And obviously as you get bigger and the accommodations become a little more comfortable, that definitely helps. But it's still a grind. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm looking at these fools. Bieber's doing 150 something shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we do 30, 40. We just did 50 for the first time. And that shit was like
wild.
That shit was like unbelievable. Obviously we did it in a Sprinter van, which is a little different. But Bieber's about to be on tour for the next 2 years. Yeah. Like he's gonna come back completely different human being. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like even like, and so I have tremendous respect for just like touring artists and that grind in general. You know what I mean? And so that first time was definitely special, and it's awesome to get to even just go back and kind of think about that.
Absolutely.
It's probably 6 years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago now. And it was, like we were talking about Pactiv and NERD, Coors Search for the Coldest. It was like only like 8 dates, but like select cities. And I remember we did a couple little one-off joints with Pactiv, and then we met up with them in Atlanta. The first date was in Atlanta. And it was really cool. Like, obviously Coors was putting the run on. And so it was dope. In Atlanta, I think that we were in a club, and I think it was like the shows might have been like free even.
Word.
But yeah, there was a lot of Coors Light to be drank, and we did that. Yeah, but yeah. So I remember, what you're saying about there's kind of a pecking order, and you got to obviously respect, you know what I mean? You got to respect everybody on the tour, because you're not only are you working with tour managers and production managers, and all of a sudden you get on tour first day, there's 100 people that you need to meet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From the other touring parties to the production, and then you're going, oh, is this venue's production, or is this the production that's going to be on the tour? And like,
am I seeing y'all for a day?
Oh, this is so-and-so's DJ. You're like learning third date in, you know what I mean? Because it's hard, and like you're getting to know people's names, and it's like a new experience, and it's like a lot of moving parts. And the first show is usually atrociously bad because everyone is trying to figure it out. But yeah, and so Pactiv and Pharrell and NERD had like a previous relationship. I think it was like NERD like selected them.
Okay.
They were like, yo, you're coming with us.
Okay.
And so Pharrell had been working in the studio with them. And so it was kind of cool. We had like pretty like early like Pharrell vibes,
Nice.
where he like said what's up and said peace, and super respectful, awesome dude, And then Cruz and I actually, prior to them going on, so like once Pactiv did their thing, prior to them going on, we were all standing outside, and like Pharrell was kind of like standing in a corner, and he was even like doing vocal warm-ups, but we were like, we got to just go like say peace to him and tell him like what we do, because we wanted to be able to shoot him, and we wanted to be able to shoot the crew, and we wanted to just be like, we're with these guys, like because it's only 8 shows, we didn't want to like get 2, 3, 4 into it, and we're all like sitting on our hands, like not down to shoot the NERD because we don't.
Absolutely.
So we went up. He was like doing a vocal warm-up in the back of the club in Atlanta, and like we went up to say what's up to him, and he was like, oh, peace, and he was just like so cool. And
awesome.
and that's like one thing, it's like, and
Y'all were
that goes back to what we were
tenacious
saying.
motherfuckers,
That goes back to what we were saying earlier about, just being a gracious human being can get you so far out here. You know what I mean? And obviously Pharrell has all the talent in the world, and everything else that he needs, but he was also like super gracious to us. So it's like,
I feel, which is like a rare thing too. Like when people are gracious and when people are nice, it's like, oh shit, that was cool. Like you kind of expect, like, I guess the reputation of the industry, you expect people to be assholes, or you expect people to have like massive egos or not talk to you. And partly that's kind of true, like in a lot of the areas of the industry. So when you do come across that and you are cool as shit, and you pay those respects, and when you get it back, it's a really nice thing and a memorable thing.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. And it's, you're right. It's like, you meet different artists, and certain people you vibe with, or just people in the industry, you vibe with different folks. And like, so like sometimes you're a little let down by that. And I always, I remind people that I work with that it's it's, you know, it's hard because you're not going to, you know, everybody's not going to love you. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like with fans and individuals, you are a bigger deal than everybody else. So like that one time they met you, whatever type of impression you made on them is going to last.
Totally.
You know? And so that is, as an artist, your responsibility to just understand that. Yeah, you understand that you're human, understand that, you know, you're not going to be perfect and not everybody's going to like you, you know, but also understand that, yep, you got that responsibility, and to just proceed with caution, you know what I mean? And sometimes, you know, the artists that I've been around and worked with and stuff, I think that they do realize that, and they kind of see, you know, that, but yeah. And so that was really refreshing, you know, and the rest of the crew was super cool. Chad, and getting to watch them every night was really inspiring for me, because to me it separated like the men from the boys, so to speak, because I was watching Pharrell like just be a superstar, and I was like, this is why this motherfucker is great every night. And it was a reminder.
What was that?
One thing that really stood out to me was he literally would make an attempt to make eye contact with everybody in the audience individually, right?
That's scary for some artists.
Oh my God.
And so here's the thing, like, you know, obviously it's like I'm a big Pharrell fan. I'm even a big Pac Div fan, but those are my bros at this point in time. And I, you know, obviously still the utmost respect for everybody involved. Yeah. I'm still not afraid to fan out. I'm still not afraid to tell these motherfuckers like I love their music, and I'm like, you know, the biggest cheerleader. But then also like getting to watch Pharrell night in and night out and study kind of his performances and seeing what was making him great and what was separating him and like what was giving him that charisma. And that was one thing that really stood out to me at the time, was he would make an attempt to make eye contact. And because he would make eye contact with me. I'd be like kind of sitting in the pit shooting shit, and there would be certain parts of the time where I'd be like, oh yeah. And like the thing is fans know.
Mesmerized. Puts you in a trance.
No. I mean, and not on like no corny shit, but like, but that type of shit is like, you're at the concert, you paid to get there, you found parking, you brought your friends, you're going to see this motherfucker play your favorite songs. Sharing a moment is why everybody is there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so that's what I think that to me separated him. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, this motherfucker, and also it was like this confidence and charisma that he owned the stage. Yeah. He was showing you that he owned the stage by making eye contact with you and reminding you that he owned the stage. And that was something that just kind of stuck with me. And I've even heard that, like, I heard that kind of like after that, they were talking about people talking about live performances and how to make your live performance better and blah, 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 blah. And I remember they were saying that about Drake early in his career, because he popped up so quick that he was playing these big ass rooms, and he was probably stage fright a little bit. But then
Drake early on, like you and I, we opened up for Drake on one of his earlier shows. And like,
here we go.
No, it's crazy for me because you saw Pharrell look everybody in the eye. I saw a mediocre at best performance, but everybody looking at Drake. Yeah. He was low-key looking above them. It was like he was performing to the room, but like nobody mattered. Yeah. And at the same time, it makes sense because, like, bro, he came up really quick.
Dude,
yeah, he wasn't.
And he wasn't at a point where he's going to, like, soak it in, love his songs, and like hit you, like know you're here and be like, you Vanessa like McCarthy from fucking God knows where, like I'm locking in with you here. Yeah. And I'm seasoned to where like I'm gonna hit y'all, like I'm gonna talk to you. Yeah. Right. So for me at that point it was crazy because like you start to like understand these things. Like I used to always come up being like, damn, Drake sucks as a performer early on, right? But then you understand that like it's a matter of getting used to the climate. Like, he constantly got better. Not to say that he's one of those that I truly saw even now that, like, will blow you away. Like, an Outkast. Like, the first time I saw Outkast, like, I knew, like, I wanted to be involved in hip-hop. Yeah. You know what I mean? But
yeah, no, he's come. No, it is. And it's something that, like, that I just, you know, I share with artists that I work with and stuff too, and I'm just like, I think it just shows like not only supreme confidence, but ultimately as an entertainer, as a performer, you know, that's kind of that's a special thing that you can do for people that is going to keep them coming back. Absolutely. And that's gonna change their, you know, because they're connecting with the lyrics already, so their heart is there. You know what I mean? And,
Absolutely.
And then when you can kind of like acknowledge them being there as well in the human form, I think that's
and
really
it takes
next
time
level.
because that's a legacy, bro. Like those dudes are consummate professionals.
Oh yeah.
Like, even at that stage, like Pharrell's just on, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a timeless musician, like artist, creator. But like he truly embodies an artist that like understands that the fan is what has gotten him here, and the fan is who he's gonna give back to.
And it's crazy that you say that because like talking to the Pac Div dudes prior to like going out on the road and like getting to like meet Pharrell and like kick it and shit, they were like, oh yeah, this fool's just a Jedi. That was like the only way they could describe it.
Word.
You know what I mean? And they were just like, yeah, they're like, he's a Jedi. You know what I mean? And like they were like, he's just super, you know, like that was the only like way they could describe him. And I think that's kind of how his live performance was, you know what I mean? Like, and he was performing this NERD shit. So this is obviously way before the Pharrell of now.
Yeah.
This is the underground, like alternative rock Pharrell.
But they were still fucking producing monster records.
Oh yeah. And then so him and Chad were producing monster records and so they would splice some of those in too a little bit, but it was really NERD music. And it was cool for me because I became like a kind of like a bit in high school. 15, 16, 17 was like a big NERD fan. Word. They were kind of counterculture-y, and it was like cool. Everyone knew Pharrell was like making pop records, but he just had this like really cool band idea.
Yeah.
And
charisma.
Or they did, and him and obviously Chad and Shay like came together. And it's funny because a lot of like people that I respect now creatively kind of come from that like children of the NERD Korn vibe. You know what I mean? Like Tyler and just everybody like
absolutely.
And because they were just making such authentic music, and it was so good. It didn't really have obviously the full commercial vibe that a lot of other stuff other stuff had at the time. But it was really good regardless. You know.
So you were out here.
No, good.
You were out here experiencing all these things, like, you know, and I'm starting to feel like, you know, as you're going, like you're getting to the point where like I'm really feeling this, and you've experienced quite a bit. When did you discover Kyle, or like how did
Kyle mix into the thing?
With Kyle come in? Was that later on?
Yeah.
So
like when did like or
'cause you went from like soaking it in, experiencing it, to like knowing that you wanted to be a part of this, and also like understanding that you wanted to play a bigger role.
Moving into like a management role, or I'm going to be a manager.
Yeah.
When were you willing to take that leap? Because like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I know you know damn well, like you didn't think that you had everything in your arsenal to do what you saw all these mentors and these great managers were doing, but like you hit that point where you're like, yo, like, okay, this kid is hella fucking dope.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna come on and we're gonna make this work.
Yeah. So that NERD tour happened, and then I like went back to Ventura to like my normal life, to my pizza delivery boy job, to back to school, just like, and it was just, it hurts. My
complete standstill.
My young Super Duper boys know about that too, because like when you like go out on the road and then you just get this taste of the road life, and then you got to go back to like your normal ass living in your parents' house.
How was that
like,
for you, bro?
I mean, it was hard. That's when it started. I started going like, all right, I need to pick my feet up, and like I need to start like being more assertive, because I want this. It's not that I want this lifestyle all the time, but I just want to make it. I just want to legitimize it.
Well,
you know
saw
what I mean?
On such a high level too. Like you had like a very anomaly of experience. It's not like you went with a group that was super indie doing their like 34 state tour in their fucking shitty van. You're like, is with one of the biggest groups of that time. Yeah. So you had like this very special experience.
Yeah, it was
like the ultimate high of it,
It was like it was like a really, but at the same time, how we were moving with Pac Div, it was still very humble. Like we were in we flew to a couple shows, but we were in like a minivan, and then Grand Hustle was like really fucking with Pac Div at the time, and so when we got to Atlanta, they were like taking us around in these like 8-passenger Grand Hustle blacked out vans and shit that was probably like bulletproof and shit. So like no one could fuck with the king. You know what I mean?
For real.
Staying in, but like low key cool stories, like staying in like Jason Jeter had like cribs out there, and like he's T.I.'s manager.
Wow.
And he worked on B.O.B.'s career. Most recently, I think signed Travis Scott, and like anyways, he yeah, he like put us up in their crib, and so we were staying in this like mansion in Atlanta, and
Just
then they'd be
hip-hop.
taking us, dude, and they'd be taking us out to strip clubs, and like we were in the club, fucking, you know, these like compound. There's like 4,000 people in the club. It's like I'm like literally the only white person
dude,
in there, and I'm getting so much attention for it. You know what I'm saying? It was like. Was
it negative and positive?
No, it was all positive. It was all positive. Because I think it's like I have long hair. I seriously look like a beach bum. And so like.
You were Matthew McConaughey. Like.
I mean like, yeah. And I'm like young. They probably tell him. They probably like everybody could just tell I'm too young. That like the thugs and shit weren't threatened by me. And it was just like big booty ratchet girls like coming up to me and just me being like all shook and like not knowing how to act. And like it was great. So there was a little bit of that. I'm totally like getting off topic. But that first tour was like, there was a lot of like moments. There was tons of moments, but there was tons of like hustle and grind and being in the van with the Pac Div boys and like sorting shit out and like figuring out roles and like motherfuckers getting tired of each other type shit. So how'd
you like, did you need to assert yourself there, or were you just out there like shooting film?
Yeah, I was just shooting.
Were you that dude that like would come in and be like, fellas, like,
you know what? No. You know what it is? Like, I was like really just getting to know them, so I kind of wanted to, you know, not like overstep my boundaries. I was kind of just digesting a lot of it, and like, you know, if there was a place where I could help and obviously make people's lives easier, I was jump into that. You know what I mean?
Were you learning more of like what you wouldn't do?
I was, and I think that it was just, you know, they had like, dude, having a group, man, where you have like 3, 4, 5 creative people, if you're including the manager, if you're including the DJ, if you're including all 3 artists, you know, Like and Mibs are brothers, and so it's like they've been you know around rocking since birth. You know what I mean? And Be Young had been rocking with them since fucking, I think might have even been like middle school or before then. You know what I mean? So these guys, this was like a family that I was kind of entering into. And so I kind of definitely just tried to observe, you know what I mean? And I remember I journaled a lot. I wrote a lot of stuff down. Yeah, because I was coming from this like journalistic aspect, and I was taking photos, and I was, you know, recording film, and I was shooting iPhone shit, and I was just like digesting. And I remember just journaling a lot and writing a lot of stuff down, and there was a lot of conversations and things I was staying completely out of. You know what I mean? Granted, I had an opinion. You know what I mean? Like, but I was kind of just playing the back seat and kind of just trying not to get in their way too much. But also, it inspired me because I saw them and I believed in them and loved their music so much, and I was like, yo, I want to manage these fucking guys.
Word.
And I would see, the thing is I'm 21, 22 at the time, and I part of me is also going like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't even really know how to manage a group, but I care. I care more than anybody. Like I can tell you that much. Yeah. And I don't think I don't know if I ever was like, yo, I want to manage y'all. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there were so many moving parts. They had attorneys and they had labels and they had all these like moving things that I was like, I don't even know if I step into this, like,
you don't know what the
I'm
fuck's
everyone's
going on.
I'm everyone's intern already. I can't step in to be the manager.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I don't even know if I ever like even presented it. And I think I probably was like, man, I would love to manage you guys, and I think I could do it. And I cared.
Shit in your journal, low-key.
I wrote down just so many things to do, so many things not to do. If this is a situation that I'm in control of, I got to make sure to not, you know what I mean, not do this, do this. Wow, this was amazing. And then there was also just daily like vibes, like we're driving through fucking wherever right now, and this is what it looks like. And you know what's funny is I haven't gone back. I haven't gone back and looked at it, but that's something. Bro. Yeah, that's something that to me, I think whenever I'm on the road, I always try to do that a little bit and check in.
That's dope, man.
It's a real vibe, and it's something that at some point I'm gonna be excited to look back on.
Oh, all day.
If I can read my chicken scratch.
All day. I think you need to.
It's almost more for the moment. You're like,
oh yeah, so great.
But
that's crazy.
So we did that. So we did that first tour, and there was like I said, some highs and some lows, and moving around and fucking being in New York City for the first time ever. I remember being at
the
this
city that never sleeps.
Oh, being in this like, and it was like June, I think, at the time, and like being on this rooftop party in Brooklyn, and that was like when I like fell in love with New York City, and I was like, yo, I gotta live here someday, because it was like warm and everybody's just so cool in New York.
Yeah.
And everybody's just like dressed so cool, and it was just like, it's just so, you know what I mean? You know how the city is. And
Yeah.
and so yeah, there was just a lot of highs, and then I get back and I'm like doing my normal shit.
But so you said something really important there, because that's what we were kind of like, I wanted to try and get at, but
yeah.
it was on that trip where like your want of management had been kind of like
Sparked. Yeah.
Like that seed was there.
I mean, since 18, I told y'all, since 18, and I discovered like Scooter.
But you believed it.
So I already knew I wanted to be a manager.
But now you're influenced by it. Now it's like sort of I'm looking for. You're encompassed by it. You're immersed.
Yeah, I'm in it, and now I'm like, man, I can actually do this shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Now you're really
I'm like,
seeing
I can actually do this shit.
Yes.
So that's when,
because like you're seeing cats that like know what they're doing, but don't like.
Yeah.
I could do this. I could do this.
Yeah, and that's what I was learning too. And I was kind of like I just learned a lot of I learned what was important about having a manager.
Yeah.
Was like sometimes trying to make decisions, everything internally as a group, and some of the things that they were battling and going with and stuff like that is just like I was just going, like that might be it's just difficult. But they were making do with what they had, which over the years of doing it myself, that's what I'm learning.
Yeah.
And with a lot of people that I work with on a regular basis on tour, it's like we're doing the best we can with what we got.
Yeah.
Right,
We got like, you know what I mean? We can't afford to pay cats like industry standard rates. You know what I mean? We have to have our homeboys out there with us. Our homeboys know us. They, you know what I mean? They might like, it's not the same like work friendship vibe. Like lines get blurred on the road. That's what I'll say about the road is lines get blurred.
Word.
You're fucking, sometimes it's like the you know, everybody is every role.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I might need to fuck around and press play, you know what I mean, on the DJ, on the turntables, or you know what I mean, like whatever it takes. You know what I'm saying? And so that's one thing that I learned out there. And then so kind of getting back to like my normal life, I was like, okay, I tasted it, and now I need to figure out how I can make this my life.
Which is actually interesting, not to interrupt, but I'm going to interrupt.
Hey, let's go.
No, because it actually, like, it also could have worked in the opposite way, but it didn't. Like, you could have saw that life, been immersed in it, saw what it is, and been like, fuck this. Like, this is actually terrible. Like, I'm not going to endure this. This is not for me. But, like, the fact that it, like, validated what you wanted to do was something special. Because unless you're in it, like, it's purely a fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it really is, like, music industry is not what everyone thinks it is by any chance. And you can get deterred by it, or it can eat you up and spit you out very quickly. So the fact that you came back from that, probably exhausted, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But was like, that's exactly now what I want to do. That validation must have been like something great to elevate you, to get you to take that next step. Yeah.
I mean, the quality of life on tour is just like, and without, like, you know, obviously the little money, the no money that we were making, and, you know, it was just, it's all passion fueled. That's what pays you, is the quality of life. I'm on the road. I'm with my homeboys. I'm fucking like, we're like having the best time of our lives. We're seeing parts of the country that we've never seen before. We're meeting people. We're like, just experience. It's so valuable. You know what I mean? And so that's like what makes up for like not making it, not getting paid, and like, you know, all of that.
But that's not for everybody. I mean, some people would be like, not getting paid. Are you kidding me? Like, I could easily take this route and get this job, you know, work up the ranks, have security, do that. Like, really, I'm going to be on the road and endure like this very aggressive way of living that's pretty broke. You know, at least at the stage that you were at. So, again, I mean, it's tough to. I mean, look, from my background being an artist, like, it is passion driven, and that's why you do it. You don't do it necessarily.
But
for
sometimes
the money.
you go out there. What you're saying is sometimes you go out there and figure out, this ain't for me. Like, I'm not cut out for it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because you saw it on a very high level. So the fact that you actually were like, it validated you to want to do it.
Oh yeah,
was something that's very, very.
It honestly was
special.
like, it was like one of them like you were born to do this shit.
Right,
like now go
right.
like now go like now
Like
now
that-
put the boots on.
Yeah, that's why
you know
I
what
want
I
to
mean?
emphasize that moment because it really could have swung the opposite way. Because you, like before that, you were living the fantasy. You saw a band on stage at the Key Club. You had no clue what this really was about. And then you did see
behind
what
the
it was
curtain.
about. You went behind the curtain. You're like, oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm doing
yeah.
this.
This is yep,
Like-
yep.
Like, for sure.
Yeah.
Fantasy killed, but no.
Not-
For sure, I'm doing this.
Was there a divide for you? Because I know through experience, you know, there's one really important thing in the capacity of whether it's management or just being there for a group, and there's a very like tightrope line of rocking with like partying with the artist, or also separating that like you're there to handle their business. Like that to me is a line that can get blurred very quickly with cats. And what I've learned in that process, you know, from just my experience, like it played out like really well for me. But I want to know, like, when did you start thinking about that? Because you see a lot of friends that come on, right? And it's crazy how like you have a big group of friends early on that starts out and then it kind of trickles down, and like the ones that are getting their shit done are the friends that stay on. There's people scoring and whatnot. But like when you look back and see what that divide is, there are those that are out there and like are just like so enamored by the lifestyle and all that shit that comes with it. But then you start to really understand that like if you're going to be a player in any artist live, right, or if you're going to have any capacity where you're guiding somebody's career, there has to be a separation between their homie and like a dude that they party with and somebody they can look to say, y'all fucking up, or we need to do this correctly, or nah, I'll catch y'all later because I got to be up and handle my business.
Yeah.
Because when you think as like a young dude in the game that like, damn, like, oh shit, if I don't go out with them, they're going to think I'm a bitch. But what the sinister, like, wild shit is sometimes when you're like able to put your foot down for responsibility, cats look at a motherfucker and be like, yo, who is that? Like, we need to keep this cat on board because like
he's assertive and shit. And you know what? To be completely honest, thinking back about it, like I don't know if on my first tour if I was like the most assertive, helpful, you know, break down walls for artists type of cat. Because I was so wide-eyed and I was so green to all of it. And so I was kind of like in the background just like taking it all in and staying out of the way. Like I was staying out of the way, so I wasn't fucking anything up.
Like,
but I was passionate.
Eyes were watching.
Yeah, and I was watching it. And then it was probably like second, third tour when I'm like, okay, this is what needs to get done. I'm going to help. You know, if you're not helping, you're in the way. You know what I mean? If you're not like helping the shit, you need like you're in the way. And you're 100% right as like, you know, when it first starts out, it's always like, bring all the homeboys. Everybody's invited. Because you don't want to feel that anybody's not included. You want to include everybody. Yeah. And then the people who really want to be included understand that it's work. You know what I mean? It's work out here. And that's like, what goes back to what we were saying about tour. Yeah, going back, just talking about tour, it's like, it's the most fun you're going to ever have. It's everything that they say it is, but it's also the hardest, longest grind that anyone has ever endured type shit. And it's funny because my boy G-Eazy and like his crew who we toured with Kyle, they always say, they say another day in the coal mine, you know? And it's like, it's half-hearted joking and it's half like, nah, like this is a grind. Like we're all out here like working our asses off. Yeah. And yeah, so after that first tour, kind of like sticking with the chronology of the story or whatever, getting back to it, I came back, was like, yo, I need to do this, whatever. Boom. Pac Div had another tour, Mac Miller, right? In the meantime, I'm throwing parties, I'm working with local artists, like I mentioned, doing my little blog shit. Then, probably in between that time, I'm already like familiar with Kyle's music. And at the time, he's probably 16, 17 years old, junior, senior in high school, same age as my younger brother.
How were you familiar with this shit?
I actually remember seeing my younger brother's like his same grade. And so they're 3 or 4 years younger than me. And he put me onto it, and they did this like little beatbox, like rap shit on YouTube that they put on YouTube. And I just thought it was hella creative and cool. And I'm like, these little motherfuckers are funny and like cool. You know what I mean? And I just kept my eye to it. You know what I mean? And like, I just kept paying attention. Because at that time I was digging. Like, I was telling Nushi, I used to burn like all the new mixtapes to CD and like play them in my whip as I drove pizzas. And so it was like the best time to listen to music. Cause I literally still envy that time to listen to music. Cause it was like, I could just, you know, over a pizza shift, I could go through 6 different CDs.
I love that you deliver pizza.
You know, and the thing is Pizza Boy Records, boy.
Oh, boy.
but yeah, no. So like, I wish I actually like reviewed them and talked about them and stuff because I was like digesting so much music front to back.
In hindsight, like fuck that. Like I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, like being I don't
different. Dog.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's cool in like hindsight is 2020.
I was just a fan.
Like
just being a fan.
I just had to interject and just like you know what I'm saying. But like that moment and those times like made you appreciate it. Like,
but I just wish I could like look back and be like, this is when I heard the Kendrick Lamar EP for the first time, and this is what I thought about it.
Word.
Because I was such a fan that I was like, I saw the greatness in all of this shit. I wasn't like critiquing it right away. I was kind of just being like,
you look back at that time and say, this is when I heard that, and this is what I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No, you're 100% right.
You're not out here writing for the fucking source.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to get lost in it, you know?
Yeah.
Like sometimes like if you're thinking too much about critiquing
had a sausage
it.
pizza in his car.
Well, I just wish I wish I would have like talked about it. I mean, I wish I would have journaled about it, or maybe any of these things that we're talking about. That's my style. Is journal.
Like
I wish I would have just been reflected on it and been like, this is what I thought about this.
When you say he journaled like that whole touring experience.
I love that, man.
Not envied, but like. I've been the type of dude to like fucking like have told myself I'm gonna start a journal for the past fucking 15 years.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like ever since I was in high school, I was like, bro, like I'm just gonna journal, and I didn't. Like, and even like going
allow yourself that time.
I was experiencing it. I didn't journal about it, and I look back and be like, damn, like what if I look back in my notebook and saw with that? Well, I have videos and shit.
Yeah,
so
But like that's the beauty of it though. Like hindsight's 2020.
Yep.
You know
Absolutely. And so just digesting a bunch of music and then paying attention to like local cats and like what people were doing up in Ventura, which like, you know, and
that's a very barren scene though, or was it bubbling?
No, it was very barren. But I was like using all my angst and energy to turn it into something and make people give a fuck. You know, and like I saw like greatness in a lot of these like local cats who were doing it, and I was just like, yo, like let's work together and let's like figure this out. And I just had, you know, a zillion ideas. And the thing is I could get through to them a little more, especially now. It's like, and then I'd been on the road, and so like I've been on the road, and so I have like credentials now. You feel me? Like, but not really. Like I was, man. I remember coming back off that first tour, man, and like it's funny because the Super Duper boys like. I can relate, but it's just like nobody can tell you shit when you just got off like the road with like I was just on the road with Pharrell, and, like Pac Div, like what the fuck are you gonna tell me? You know what I mean? Like just anybody, like, and so that was definitely like a moment of confidence and whatever, and just like wow, solidifying the fact that I could actually do this. And then so Pac Div went on the road with Mac Miller. And he was somebody who I had like dug into his music, and you know I was like, he's really dope, very very talented, and I kind of got it. He was putting out a ton of YouTube videos, really creative shit that he was just shooting with his homeboys, and it was really cool. I like watched his come up, and then at that time, like, you know, Mac Miller's probably like, I don't know, at the time he's like 18 or something. He's super young. Kyle's like 17. I was like kind of watching Kyle's trajectory, and I'm like, bro, this like fool's like hella creative. He could like kind of fit in that lane. Tons of personality, tons of charisma, just a star. You know what I mean? And then I go out on the road with Mac Miller, and I just see it, and it's like 1,500 people every night in like 40 markets in North America. Yeah. And then he puts out his album like halfway through the tour, Blue Side Park, and it's like shoots to #1, does over 100,000 copies, and then like. I remember like on that tour, I like sent Kyle like a Facebook message, and during that tour I was like journaling and just writing ideas down.
Shout out to your fucking journal.
Shout out to my journal. Yeah. My iPhone notes, and then I obviously had like a real like journal that I was like writing, you know, pen to pad. But yeah, I remember that at some point during that tour, I was like, yo, Kyle can do this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So shout out to Mac Miller and his whole crew. They had a great crew. They were like very fucking on point. They were like very hardworking, very focused, had all the right pieces, tour management, lighting, fucking sound guy.
Yeah.
He had all his homeboys with him, so he had that energy, and it was great. And they were good peeps to us too. They really took care of us too, and like that's Pactiv, and Pactiv did their thing too. And so when I saw that, I was like, and I remember sending Kyle, like, funny thing, we were in Atlanta again at like one of Jason Jeter's like mansions out there in the middle, and like it was late at night, and it was like so close to my heart for some reason. I remember sending Kyle like a Facebook message like, bro, I'm out here on the road with Mac Miller, like this fool's killing shit, like he's doing 1,200 tickets in every market in North America.
Really?
Like I'm like, I see you being able to get to this level. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
wow.
And I'm like watching them do it, and I've been watching how they've been doing it for the last year and a half, and I'm like, I know what we need to do.
Word.
This, and then like kind of put together a couple itemized steps about like what we need to do. And this is the end of 2011, I think, and then like starting 2012, like January 1, I was like focused on Kyle's shit, and I was like, yo, let's like do this. Let's make this a thing.
What was his response to that? Like what?
You know what's funny is I think that he kind of had reached out to me a few times before that, and kind of like that, but I was like really like just kind of like I understood, like that's the one thing that I understand about management is it's like, and that's why I've literally managed one artist and have only I've worked with other artists and stuff, but I've literally really only managed one artist.
Well,
and it's because it's just such an emotional commitment.
Yeah.
It's basically saying like, it's almost like it's like you're gonna get in a relationship with them.
I feel you.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna get in a relationship with them, and like there needs to be a lot of waters being tested, and there needs to be a lot of dating a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like the dating thing where you like kind of feel people out,
Or the
like,
babysitter's vetting process, like you thinking if you want to come into this family or help build this family,
yeah,
they feel comfortable with you.
Yeah. And so Kyle and I had known each other, and we had worked together on a couple little projects. We had thrown some local shows together, and me being the promoter and kind of like organizing the venue, the event, putting the flyer together, putting the whole event on, and they went fucking amazing. So at that point, after we had already done that, and that's in between the first two tours, Kyle's already like, bro, like I need your help, let's rock type shit.
Yeah.
And so like kind of when I hit him with that, then it was like he had kind of been like, yeah, well, bro, like I'm already knowing, but it's just it was kind of about me to be like,
Word.
and take the initiative and be like, okay, I'm gonna like line these dots up for you.
Got it.
And we're gonna start, attacking it.
Now for you, because that's like really your first gig as a manager at that point. That January 1. Like I'm a manager now.
Yep.
Did you have? All right. So as a manager, there's so many.
Talk to him, Joe.
Man, there's just so many things important, like taking on that role. Like
talk to him, Joe.
When you
Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking, like someone who hasn't done it before, right?
Yeah.
You have to have like access. Like that's super important. These are just the things I think are important, right?
Yeah.
I think access is huge, right? Knowing who to go to, knowing the right contacts to put the dots together, like you mentioned. How important is like knowing about the industry and like for you and yourself to take on this management role at that time after being on those two tours? Touring, you see how people broke, you see how people filled venues, you see how people make money, how people's songs, go up the charts and sell. But do you necessarily like know how to do that just because you saw it? Did you know enough about the industry to take on this responsibility of someone's career? Like, I think, in just my perspective, is like taking on a management role has got to be super hard without being an expert in it. But you believe in someone so much, and you're like, yo, I can help you, and I'm willing to help you. I may not know everything, but we can make this happen. Like, how do you like combine those worlds together,
Yeah, and I think that's a really good question, and you're so right. It is so like daunting, and especially someone who, and managers I'm sure can attest to this, is just like someone who cares about the artist and like whatever. It's like easy to like want to manage the dude who's like on fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's hard to be like, I see something in you and this needs to be cultivated, and yes, I'm going to dedicate myself to you. Do I know if it's going to work? Not really.
Yeah.
But I
it's
hope
also-
it's going to do. But do I have all the connections? No. Do I have all the fucking answers? No.
But am I gonna fight for you to the death?
Yes.
But it's like,
Yes.
And then when you're willing to make that decision, when you're willing, I think that when your belief in it and your want to and your passion for it just supersedes all the fears,
Very important.
that's when it's like, let's rock.
Yeah,
And
especially at that stage.
And I had, you know what I mean? It's like, at that point, it's really cool because you got nothing to lose. You know what I mean? It's like, I was like, I'm seeing Mac Miller and I'm like, we need to be doing this shit. Like, how can we put this shit together to do this? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, we're seeing that.
It's possible.
It's possible. I'm like, he's doing it. And I'm like, and I'm watching it very closely. And I like kind of understand all the pieces that's going on with him. You know what I mean? And obviously insanely talented, very hardworking cat. But I was like, Kyle has this energy about him. You know what I mean?
He
and,
does.
and he was also just super impressionable at that age where he was like, once he like was willing, like Kyle is like, you know, was willing to take corrective criticism and like ideas. Like he's very open to ideas of people around him. And he's like, he's like a great person to work with in that respect. So it's like, initially it was like we like clicked well because I was like pretty specific about certain things. I started like having an opinion about let's do this and not this, and let's do this and not that. And he was always like, yeah, it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Well, when did you think like, I think like it's been a rule of thumb that for an artist, when do you get a manager, right? That's a common question. Like, when do you get a manager? I've always been told, you know, a rule of thumb is get a manager when you can't do it yourself anymore, when basically you've kind of pushed your own limit and you need to take that next step. Do you think that, I don't know if that's true or not. That's just kind of like, it's been a common phrase that's popped up when I was an artist. What do you feel like for an artist, like for someone like Kyle, when he was, at this time he was buzzing, he was doing it, how did you add value? And did you think, I guess for him, what am I trying to say? When did he know he needed you at that time? Like, was it when you would add more value than he could actually add for himself?
I mean, you know what? That's like an interesting question. I think that what I really provided to the equation was just this passion and this work ethic that I was like, by any means necessary.
You gave him the belief that it was possible.
Yeah. Like I kind of came back and I was just like lit a fire under it, and I was like,
let's do this.
And I know he was paying attention. And prior to that, Kyle and I had, like, through working together on a couple of these little events that were like very successful for what they were, I think he understood like I wasn't like full of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think that with a lot of artists and managers, it's like sometimes people are full of shit, and not because they want to be full of shit, just because maybe they were
have
wrong,
to create something,
or they hit a wall or whatever, or they couldn't do it, you know. And so I think he had experienced some of that in his, like, you know, very young career. Granted, he's like 17 or 18 at the time,
Right.
you know, so he's like very young, and he's just looking for a squad to move with, because he understands, like, at that point it's like Tyler's doing his thing, you know, Mac Miller's doing his thing, and he's probably seeing all these cats with squads, and he's like, okay, where's my squad at? Like, what's up? And so he had, you know, he definitely had he had a lot of pieces to the squad, which was cool. We had our music video director, videographer named Jacob Owens, who's like extremely talented, extremely hardworking. And, you know, him and I worked on a lot of creative for music videos and those, and, you know, he was living in Arizona, and we'd like buy him $100 plane ticket, and he would like come sleep on the couch and just shoot for us for free. And we would like work sun up to sundown and be as creative as possible. And he would edit the shit and turn it around, and we'd drop it, and it would like, you know, and it's like been really like a, you know, it's just been like a one foot in front of the other type of thing. Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, to give advice to like artists and or managers from either side, it's like that. I think that's a good rule of thumb. Like, exhaust your resources and really work hard as an artist, because ultimately, and this is something I'm kind of learning more now, is as like, you know, in a typical management artist manager relationship, like the manager is commissioning off like, you know, 15 to 20% off of what the artist makes. So the manager is like such a minority, not even shareholder, minority like partner in this business. So it's like the artist needs to do 80% of the pushing, you know what I mean? Or like Not really. A lot of times it's the manager doing 80% of the pushing, but the artist needs to be right there, you know, and at the forefront. The artist needs to be at the forefront.
20% is going to make sense from that degree of like your work is going to be validated based on somebody working with you.
Really, really hard. And that's my thing is just catching, like, you know, vibing with the artist and like understand, like, there's some intangibles that I think artists need to have in order to like have success in the music industry straight up. And I will like sit down with people and not even talk about music artists that I'm like potentially thinking about working with or whatever, and being like, you didn't you need like three, you need to be exceptional at 3 of them, and if not damn near all of them if you want to be like a superstar.
What are some of those things? Okay,
and you know what's funny is, okay, so some of those things are some of the,
Tell me what X artist needs in your mind.
So it obviously starts with great music.
Word.
Like you have to have great music.
100%.
Like nothing goes anywhere without great music, and yeah, you got to have that. And then you got to have work ethic. You have to have a great work ethic, and you have to be willing to literally like work to the bone, you know, forget all the creative shit, forget all the glitz and bullshit. Like you gotta be like, and the bigger artists work the fucking hardest. They're up, they're like doing a show in an arena and then waking up and doing press at 5 a.m. You know what I mean? And then I think you need to have like a really solid brand and a really solid image. And so you could separate kind of those into 2, maybe, you know? And there's like a couple of things that kind of fit into this, like charisma and star power and, you know, but like the brand and the image and the look and like, you know what I mean? There's got to be something like shticky about you that makes people like want to look at you. Cause like if you're going to be a superstar, you're going to get looked at a lot, you know? So like, the first 3 are super concrete. What did I say? I said music, work ethic, and then brand, you know, and just identity, you know. And then it's like, it's like you gotta have that. You gotta have a good like image too, so that kind of like fits into brand. But then like I guess the last thing would be team, you know. So all the great artists have great teams, and that kind of, it tracks back to the team, but it also tracks back to the artist, because the artist is essentially recruiting the team, you know? And so the artist is the one who's like curating the team and understanding why they would need to bring this person on and not this person, and knowing when to trim the team or grow the team and where, you know, and the manager can kind of help with that too. And the manager is like good with that too. But yeah, and the reason why I kind of talk about, you know, superstars, because so Nushi mentioned Dan Wiseman earlier, and because I brought him up. So Dan Wiseman currently, you know, works at Rock Nation, manages Capital Cities, who's had like tremendous international success over the past few years. Big record, Safe and Sound, and then previously he managed Wale, or Mike Posner, and then Wale, and had 2 really good runs with them. And I met him when I was like 18 or 19 years old by chance at a show, and I stayed in touch with it. Like randomly got his number. He had like a Wale merch piece on that was rare, and I was like, "Where'd you get that?" And he was like, "Well, I manage Wale." And I was like, "Oh, okay, dope. Well, what's up?" You know what I mean? Like, you're the guy. I was trying to meet you. Yeah. Like, oh, perfect. You know what I mean?
Oh, you do.
And then we started chopping it up, and he asked me what I thought about Mike Posner at the time prior to him working with him, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm already bumping Mike Posner's mixtapes and shit, and he's about to be on. He's like, oh, I'm thinking about working with him. It's good to hear. Blah blah blah. So he gave me his email. Biggest mistake he ever made. I started rapid firing, hitting him with just every question in the work. Fuck. Don't do this to me. No, I'm just kidding. Like whatever, you know. But I started hitting him, and I think that he maybe saw something kind of assertive, and I don't even know. He maybe saw like that I was doing my homework. Yeah. Like I try to pride myself on just really just being a student of the game, not asking him like completely stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like paying attention to like his career and his artist career and what they're doing and how they're moving. You know what I mean? Not just like, help me. How can you help me? You know, that's like the stupid thing. I was trying to provide value for him. And a piece of advice that he gave me that I will never forget, and I have this conversation with everybody, is he said, don't because I told him I want to be a manager, and he said, if you want to be a manager, hold on, I got to make sure I say this right. He said, only manage an artist that you think can be a global fucking superstar.
Word.
He said, otherwise, all the work you put in and all the doors and things you have to do won't be worth it. So this was early on. This is before I'm even like getting my foot in the door, but it was such a valuable piece of advice because it really guided me, because it made me early more selective. It made me even more of a student of the game. Because now I was going, who's a superstar, who's not a superstar, and why? You know what I mean?
Raising the bar.
It was raising the bar right away.
Even for you, like, even for you, not even for the talent you're looking for you in your own mind of like where you need to elevate your level.
Exactly.
Like, oh shit, wait. I'm not thinking of like Ventura cats.
No.
I'm thinking of like global cats and like where I need to be. Oh shit. And like, I think you have to mentally take on that responsibility first before you can help somebody. Like, you have to be prepared first to be like, all right, can I make something global? Can I deal with something that's global? And get to that level, which is very hard, man. I think it's a big challenge, especially if you just jumping into it at the first step.
Like what he said was, he was like, if you don't think that your artist can stack up against, if you don't think your artist can stack it up against Lady Gaga, and at that time, 2009, he's like, if you don't think your artist can stack up against Lady Gaga and like her cultural social influence at the time, then like just understand that, you know what I mean? And I was just
how do you believe that though? Like, how do you fucking Nolan from Ventura believe like, oh no, we're gonna be competing with Lady Gaga?
Well, so here at this time I was managing no artist. This is like when this is my very formative years, when I like, this is like damn near a couple months after I go to that Pac Div show, and I'm like, this is when I'm like just fanning, diving into music, listening to everybody's shit.
Set your frame up.
Yeah, he set that frame up, and what's so funny is like I will never forget it, and I'm so appreciative of it, and I think it matters so much. And granted, it's like I'm not working with any superstars, but it's something to me that really makes sense.
Yeah.
Because now I'm seeing people that I've crossed paths with in the industry work on that superstar direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm watching it, and I'm seeing different things about them, and that's kind of why I brought up those like little 5 kind of intangible things that I've like decided, But
let me ask you something about those 5 things.
Yeah.
Because
I need to put this in. I'm gonna write this down and really put it in a book someday. Make them chapters. Make them chapters.
No, you better journal about this, because, bro, like, understand this. Like, when push comes to shove, and time has it that way. Like, I want your autobiography to be these journal entries that like come through time. You know what I'm saying?
It can't be an autobiography. I'm all about self-help. I'm gonna write some shit that's for you, for everybody else. It's not about me. It's not about me.
So when you put out the book called The Manager and Me,
crazy! Hey, crazy title alert! Crazy title alert!
So you put this just like you put your journey out into the world. Let's just keep it as basic as that. But there's something I want to touch on with the 5 that you got to, and also just like in conjunction with godly advice that Wiseman did give, because like that advice low key is very, very, very transformative.
Yeah, and he doesn't even probably remember that he told me that, but that's what he was feeling at the time.
And low key, God knows if at that time he really believed it. But that's one of those like sayings that will guide your journey, right? But when it comes to like the hard work and the brand and the music and the fucking work ethic, and then like the personality and all that, like, let's be very fucking honest. Kyle had seeds of that, like, I'm saying Kyle because that was your first like seed, right? Yeah. Any artist that is courted by a manager, or the first step in each other's journeys, like, let's be very real. They should have these things, but they don't.
Yeah. No, they don't.
Like, this is something that you may tell like artists that are in the game and that are working and that you come across now, or that you even like have as your 5-finger barometer, like without vocally saying it to them, but like when you're like, okay, like Kyle should, like, okay, this video director is coming into play, or this like artist or this producer, like, okay, let me chop it with him and like hit my little 5 fingers.
No.
But for you, from that standpoint, like, your experience showed you that these are really, and this is kind of what I want to cut into, is that your experience and the things that you've come across had had allowed you to understand the importance of these things. You're also in a position where you have a great soul, a great energy, a fiery passion, and you've experienced things and have put the context into your world in that present moment, and also what you wanted from the future, based on the understanding of these pillars, right? So in this management role, being you jumping in and deciding if you want to create a family, also understanding that if your inkling about said artist is true, and like he has a star in you, you know goddamn well you have to pull it out of him.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, man.
So for you at that point, like, yes, granted, folks, like we're speaking about ahead, but I want to take it back because there's something very important here, and like I think that it's very pivotal in your journey, and like I just wanted to touch on that just for the community and the ether of this world of music, instead of just glossing over like the 5 pillars of fucking like greatness in music.
Yeah.
You understood these things, but like how like it wasn't written for you to know how to do these things, but you also knew that like damn, like there's something about Kyle that's just like really fucking special. And then I'm seeing Mac Miller, I'm seeing these cats, like I've reached the apex where I'm like, yo, like you could be here. You have everything that it takes to be here. I'm also seeing that these dudes work extra fucking hard. I'm also seeing that these dudes have something about them. I'm also seeing that these dudes like touch these crowds and their music is on. Whether it's on for everybody or whether it's on for these 1,500 white girls and a couple like dudes in the crowd that are rocking with them. For you in embarking on that journey with Kyle, knowing that like, these are certain pillars that you want to aspire towards, also knowing that, you guys are going to be learning together.
Yeah.
Right. What was it for you, and how was that process of like bringing that out of each other? Like, I'm not even going to like compartmentalize it for him, but like, what was it for you to make sure that, okay, you knew that this artist that you were working with needed to have these things?
Yeah. Well, no. You know what's funny is that like 5-finger barometer, as you called it, is something I've kind of developed more recently, watching just the climate and like watching how people are moving and like who is really, really succeeding, by industry standards more than anything. Granted, that is like, that's in relation to what. So I've been mulling over Dan Wiseman's quote, him looking down on me. He's a big dude. He's a big dude. Him looking down on me and being like, or this is how I remember it in the back of the club, being like, if you want to manage artists, only go into business working for artists that you think are going to be superstars, And I don't think that anybody does it any differently. If everybody, young managers are out there going like, well, I think that my guy's going to be a superstar and blah, 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 blah. And so I haven't figured that. I haven't created that kind of like idea until more recently. So at the time, what I saw in Kyle that made him in my opinion at the time, made him a superstar.
Let's go. Holler at me.
Was, Kyle is extremely, extremely talented.
He's
so
charismatic, bro.
Charismatic. I think he has just such a unique vibe. I think he just has a very star-like vibe, but he could also just sing and rap his ass off.
Word.
You know what I mean? He like his melodies and stuff,
high.
and his understanding of melodies and how like he just had like this knack for like wanting to making pop records like from a really indie place, like having the shittiest beat, but like writing these big sounding hooks on top of it. And so I was just like, and then also wasn't afraid to be the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like loves the camera, loves fans, very, you know what I mean? Not afraid to be the guy, and not afraid to like,
did you see that early on?
Yeah, like very, very early on.
Okay.
And like I saw that in him. We did a couple little shows, and it was like this fool like light on stage. He was like this normal dude, and then on stage it was just like he lit up.
Word.
And I'm just like, wow.
I feel
you know what I mean? I get it. Like I get it now.
Yeah.
And so I think that it wasn't like one of those things where I saw him and I'm like, you're a superstar, like off the very first rip. Although that first video that I did see of him was like very creative and funny and cool, and and I think that I helped guide him on his journey to finding kind of his uniqueness and his own sound. I mean, early on, he was kind of just rapping like guns and drugs and things that he wasn't involved
Really?
in. And I kind of like pointed him, but that was what the industry was doing too.
There
was this corny part of the industry prior to like Pac Div and like all those cats, Odd Futures, and like before they started like doing something a little more unique, you know, and like just being themselves. You and I being themselves, and prior to that, it was like very much guns and drugs, and like this is what's on the radio, and this is the only thing that works. So I think I kind of nudged him in that direction, and this was prior to where we started really being focused on it, and then he started kind of like getting his own swag, like the Kyle you see now, the really just very okay with being himself, like even a little goofy and like not afraid to like fully be himself.
Crooked
It's like
smile, wave is a
him,
motherfucker.
that's like been him since then, and he's always, you know, because I just thought that really early on writing music that's true to you is like what's gonna connect in the heart space, you know what I'm saying? And that's what's gonna get people to be your fan and like care about your career and follow along as you grow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we got a lot of work to do in order to reach that like superstar level, you know what I mean? But there were a couple of those intangibles that I saw really raw, and then his willingness to like, you know, work and take corrective criticism, and like he believed in me.
Important.
He believed in me as much as I believed in him.
So y'all
and so it was one of those
fed
things.
off that,
Y'all,
man.
yeah. And so he was like, you know what I mean? He like, we kind of just we built like a really good rapport early on, and kind of just started attacking it there. And you know, our relationship is consistently growing and evolving and changing. But yeah, no, the boy could just sing melodies. He could just sing like his ass off and rap his ass off, and it was different. And I was just like, yo, and it's cool when he gets like, you know, Tyler the Creator comparisons like online and like in comments and shit, and like because it's so different. It's two different worlds of two very different people, but they're very like creative, unique people, and so people respect their uniqueness.
I feel like Tyler the Creator, like if you're gonna look at the comparison, is like walking on Venice Beach and just like in the cuts of like the pavement of Venice, and Kyle's like with his fucking surfboard, like riding the wave, whatever they may be out there.
But there's not really a darkness to Kyle. There's like, it's actually opposite. There's a quirkiness that like almost like comedic in some ways.
Absolutely, like he's really funny. He feels fucking hilarious in person.
But you don't. But it's serious that you in the fact that you take it seriously.
Yeah,
like
and
you're not like this is like a fucking comedy record. This is like really just like it's him, and
it's coming from his heart. And I'm excited for you guys to like really like dig in with him too, because like this fool is like very rarely serious. Very rarely serious.
You know,
He's like
so
his record, like for him to get serious on a record, it's like really coming from a deep place, and like, you know, like when you're with him, it's like jokes.
He's honest, bro.
Oh, it's very
he's
honest.
Genuine. And I'm glad, like, you know, it takes somebody with an understanding to push him towards being him. Shout out to Joe pushing me towards the mic. I'm a fucker. Like, I move a lot when I talk. But regardless, I'm glad you did that, because like there's something about the authenticity of him that just resonates. And you saw that early on. You knew what it was. You're like, bro, be you. Right?
Yeah, because here Kyle was, it was like the Kyle I knew, and then at the time the Kyle that was getting on records was like way too far apart. You know what I mean?
That happens a lot,
and
man.
And I think that, I mean, it's still an industry norm. Motherfuckers are still rapping like other motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers are still making shit that sounds like whatever's on the radio, because
or telling stories that like they haven't lived.
They
really,
haven't.
But, like,
yeah.
It'll touch people.
And to me, it was cool. Like, to me, I was passionate about it because I was like, as I got to know Kyle, and like I knew like all of the unique things about him were like cool. I'm like, motherfuckers are gonna be able to relate to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you just, you know, rapping like Big Sean or Drake at the time is not gonna like really carve you out, because I think that you have the potential to be as talented as cats like this, but if you're doing what they're doing, you're not innovating enough to like be compared to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like, I mean, it's a good like kind of segueing into the whole super duper aspect to this. One, like, there's a few different things. One, like, super duper is like almost an alter ego, which probably like helps him almost be himself, right? Like, you can be super duper Kyle. And then there's the whole, like, going to your point about, you know, working hard, and then, you know, your brand, your lifestyle, creating
team,
this whole
bro.
super duper
squad.
thing that's bigger than just Kyle. It's a whole thing. And then like also taking that to create your own lane and like fitting in to like, you're not trying to be, you know, Drake, Big Sean, Kendrick. It's like, let's take this super duper thing and be its own entity and carve our own piece out of this and live there in a really major way.
Yeah, yeah.
Like how did that come about? How did creating this like super duper
world, the world, yeah.
Going
and that's
from
so
just
cool
like, hey, you're Super Duper Kyle, this alter ego, alter ego, I can't even say it, alter ego character, but like making it like, no, this is way bigger than just you. This is way bigger. This is a whole thing now that's gonna live in this universe.
Yeah, and it's really cool that you say that. I think that Kyle and them and the rest of the squad will like. This is, you know, the Super Duper crew will like appreciate that because that's something that we work really hard to create. But how actually, I mean, there's actually a specific story how it kind of came about was, so during this time when I was kind of nudging Kyle in the direction of just being, you know, himself and like the goofy, like funny style shit that like he would like have me dying over and stuff. I'm like, this is the type of shit that needs to make it on record. This is the type of shit that people need to see because they're going to be able to relate to it. And so he, like all his music, he was writing that. And then he was picking these like really unique, like wavy beats. Our good homie Dave Kappa was producing for him and he met him like via the internet. And he was like making these like, the samples were like, it was like very alternative, but it had like hip hop drums, but it was like very 80s influenced. And so he started, and Kyle was still KID at the time. And he started making this mixtape called Super Duper. And so Super Duper was something kind of that he established early, was like this was his world, you know? And I've heard Kyle talk about it before in interviews, and he says that like that was just like something his mom said. His mom is white, and she'd say like okie dokie and super duper and like shit like that. And like that was just something that he like related to. And so he was just like super duper. And then he was just like, wait a second, that's tight.
Well,
that's tight.
Thing.
That's
well,
tight. This is that
the
world.
Thing the world can relate to. Super Duper is like it's so nerdy and old school and
it's
like mom.
Yeah,
it's so mom, bro.
Yeah.
But it's something that like you totally like. It's so cool. It's so like not pretentious and so cool.
So
in that way, you know.
Yeah. And it's so what he did was like. Kyle has always been like really smart on the internet, and he was like finessing Facebook and MySpace earlier and just like spamming people music, and like he like knew how to kind of like, and that was the one thing whereas like he kind of started doing these covers that were getting traction on YouTube.
Okay.
He would do like a cover where he'd put on like a new beat for a song and just like either freestyle over it or like write some shit over it or like whatever. And they were like getting traction on YouTube. And that was one thing that I kind of saw too that really encouraged me with Kyle was like just his ability to take the initiative. Because I'm like, okay, this fool's going to work on this shit. It's not like it's just he's waiting for me to like press play.
What are we doing?
Yeah, he's not waiting for me to press play. He has like ideas and he like wants to get active with this shit. And so I was like all about it. And I was like vibing with some of his ideas. I'm like, yeah, this is great. You know what I mean? And then, so with the Super Duper, he had this mixtape called Super Duper. And at this point, he had like put a couple like viral videos out on YouTube, and they were just like videos of him like rapping in his grandma's living room, like saying funny shit. And people like were drawn to it. And he built up this like YouTube following, where he had like maybe a couple thousand followers on YouTube. But we were like, perfect. That's just enough to like plant the seed. Yeah. Like if we can like put together a really quality project and deliver it to this small group of people, then it's going to spread, you know? And so Super Duper was a mixtape he literally made in his grandma's house in Ventura. And he put it out on Twitter like, yo, like if you're fucking with me, like change your Twitter name to Super Duper, whatever your name is, because he was Super Duper KID. No, he was Super Duper Kyle. He was Super Duper Kyle, right? Yeah. This is still like the origins of that.
Yeah.
The origin of that.
That's brilliant as fuck, though.
Okay, yeah. So this was like the early like get your fan base together.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, this is like early getting your fan base to fuck with you. And then the first person to do it, Super Duper Brick.
Wow.
Nice.
And so, but Brick is like fucking 13 years old at the time.
Wow.
Okay. And Brick,
I fucking feel you.
So enter Brick. Enter Brick. Enter Brick.
You.
Kyle is 18. Brick is like fucking 13 or 14 years old, maybe 13 years old, living in North Carolina at the time. I think was born in Carson. Had a stepdad in the military. Was moving back and forth between North Carolina and Carson. You know what I mean? He was kind of like learning the LA culture and then like going out to the the boondocks in North Carolina and like mixing it up out there. And so Brick, at the time, he was in North Carolina, and so Kyle was always telling me, he's like, yeah, this kid Brick, blah, blah, blah. He's like a big fan, but he's just always hitting me with creative ideas and shit. And that shit reminded me of me. That shit reminded me of me. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, that's probably how I was to these Pac Div fools and all these other fools. I'm like, you know, so Brick just like damn near day one fan and like nonstop ideas. You know what I mean? Like, and Brick was just a fan of the culture. He was
just
listening to all the music,
machine gunning ideas.
Yeah.
Internet brilliance, just like knew the web. Fucking like that motherfucker just understands the internet like nobody's business.
13 years old. Young
13 years
gunny.
old, gunning.
Word.
So Kyle was always just like, yeah, like, and that's the thing about Kyle is like, you can hit him with an idea. You can be a fan and hit him with an idea, and he's gonna be like all ears to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like really respectful in that way. And so so Brick was in North Carolina, and you know, Super Duper comes out, and like, I think this was even prior to July 1 of 2012 when I was like, there was some sort of mental switch where I was like,
yeah,
let's rock.
Yeah.
But Super Duper came out, I think November of 2011 or something like that, and it had just more great music. It had just the melodies that I was like, this is so fresh. And even to this day, like, we'll be on the road and we'll fucking press play on that Super Duper shit, Kyle, like shit he wrote when he was 18 years old. And I'm like, some of these songs are just still so timeless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that was something that, like, in the moment, I was just like, the quality was not there, but of just the production. I mean, you know what I mean, what it was. But I was just like, this is some shit that, like, you could damn near, like, dig that hook up and like put it on something else, and like, who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Word.
And so,
shout out to the manager and you. I respect that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh, dude,
y'all got gold. You know what I mean?
You
out here like cutting and
never
sewing.
let a
you know
record
what I mean?
die.
All
Never
day. I
let a
feel
record
you.
die.
Respect.
But yeah, and then so fast forward, I guess. So we're in 2012 now. Super Duper's out, and his fans are digging it. And he's shooting like little music videos, and then we really locked in with my boy Jacob Owens and shot some really good music videos that were for like original records that were like getting steam on YouTube, getting hundreds of thousands of plays on YouTube. So then Kyle's socials are starting to go. And then I just like kind of like used some of my little connections to plug him into shows. I got him to open up for Big Sean, which was like one of the first little things I did for him, which was really cool. And it's crazy because come full circle, he's on a record with Big Sean on Chance the Rapper's and Social Experiment Surf Project, trading verses. And that, I mean, that was crazy. Literally, we heard the record for the first time. Bro, it's wild. I mean, it was like, that's like when it's just like one of those moments, you know? Yeah.
The effects had to come out.
Yeah, so it was like, I mean, hearing that record for the first time with Sean on it, because so I guess we're like super fast forwarding here, but he opened up for Big Sean.
Chronological, but like
no.
He was talking.
He opened up for Big Sean, and it was like one of the first little things I plugged in for him, and it was really dope. Sold out show, Velvet Jones, Santa Barbara, California. And and you know what's crazy, which comes full circle, is David Stromberg at the time was running around with Big Sean. And I think Dan Wiseman might have been like kind of like working on managing Sean. And so Stromberg was like hanging with Sean. And then Stromberg was with Sean at the show. And I was like, oh, Stromberg, like, I know you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what's up, dog? And it was like love. And then I got to intro Kyle to Sean and stuff like that. So it's like early manager. It's like, okay, that's like cool. Like you introduce Kat to his like favorite artist or whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, there we go.
You know what I mean? And like, you know, it's like, and we talk about this because it's like, you know, like Mama, We Made It. It's like, you know, you know, it's just like,
what better feeling was that at that time?
No,
you know
but that, well, I'm just saying, it's like we're just scratching the surface even to this day. So, but back then we're like biting, pinching, scratching for any little thing we can get, right?
I love that.
And so I was just doing a lot of that, plugging him into the right shows, kind of like trying to put him on shit that was like tasteful, like like he can go open up for Big Sean because these are fans that are open to like this type of shit, you know? And so just trying to make those type of plays. And then meanwhile, just understanding if we create, he's got a little tiny fan base, people checking for him. If we can create really, really good quality content, tasteful shit, we can get in there, you know?
How important was the Super Duper crew?
So it's kind of funny because the Super Duper crew wasn't even and we're still kind of like it's kind of growing and transforming and all of that, and we're kind of still trying to figure out exactly what it is. But we definitely know there's a lot there, but we're just kind of trying to figure out how to approach it in a unique way. So brick has been a staple. So this is to kind of get to that point, so like Brick's staying in touch with Kyle ever since like Super Duper. This is late 2011, 2012. We get to so pretty early on in 2012. I had met a dude named DJ Carnage when I was on the road with Theophilus London on a couple like one-off dates. I met DJ Carnage, and DJ Carnage had produced this record for Theophilus London and A$AP Rocky called Big Spender, and it was like an internet record, and I had kind of heard it live before hearing like this CDQ version, and like it was like banging in the club, and Rocky was on it, and there was like buzz around it, and it was Theo was really hot at the time, and it was just kind of like it was like a really cool record, and I like bumped into Carnage, and Carnage is like this big gregarious, super like chatterbox type of cat like me, and so me and Carnage like immediately clicked. He had it's crazy. Carnage had his glasses on and his chain on just like he does today, like everywhere he goes in the club, indoors, outdoors, wherever the fuck he goes, like had this, you know what I mean?
Big body persona,
but also like really social and like cool, like knows how to make friends. Carnage is like one of the rawest A&Rs like to this day. So, and the story with Carnage develops, but basically like I got Carnage's number because he knew I was on some film shit, and he was like, yo, come shoot me a video with me and Theo. We made some other songs, like come to the crib and shoot it. And something happened. I had to like work at my pizza job or some shit. Couldn't do it. Was bummed, but stayed in touch with Carnage. Then I played Carnage Kyle's shit, and he freaked out.
Really?
And he was like, yo, what are you guys doing tomorrow? And so I text Kyle. I'm like, what are you doing tomorrow? And he was like, nothing. And I was like, you want to go to the session with this producer? He produced like this record that's like really hot right now. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we drive to LA. We drive to downtown LA where Carnage was at, which is the Indie Pop Studios, which is another part of the story too. But we get in the session with Carnage, and Carnage like totally just gets it. He almost got it more than we even got it at the time.
Really?
Yeah. He was just like, at the time he showed us. He immediately was like, yo, Kyle, you're like these dudes. And he showed us Logic. He showed us G-Eazy. He showed us, I'm trying to think like who else he showed us. He showed us like the two that really stick out is like Logic and G-Eazy. He's like, these fools are like really popular in like the college community, but really popular. These kids had like 3,000 or 4,000 followers. Like they were just barely buzzing. They had like, they were kind of on like a similar level of Kyle, where they like put out a couple like semi-viral like YouTube videos, and they were like catching some buzz and shit. But like they were just like one step ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that even helped us even more, because then it kind of opened me up to like, there's like all these college music blogs, like Good Music All Day, and all these things that were like curating music. This song is sick. Curating music along with the dance music. It was like this dance music and this like swaggy hip hop music that these college kids were like really digging into. That was kind of an evolution of the Pac Div shit. The Pac Div shit was just a little more culturally cool and like underground.
Hey, the waves of your story, bro. I love this shit.
So then he kind of showed it what it was, and then they like made this record called what the fuck was that first song they made? So I'm like totally blanking on this.
No
so
worries.
Bad fans are already knowing what's up, but they made Silver Platter. I'm sorry, they made Silver Platter like the first day they worked together, and we shot a cool video to it, which I like co-directed, kind of creative directed the whole thing with my boy Jacob, and we like kind of recreated the Sandlot.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's on YouTube somewhere, and I think that it did really well for us. So that was the first thing, and then long story short, we made this. Kyle made this Silver Platter record one day, then a week later comes back and makes Keep It Real, and which is like one of his first really like buzzy records. And it was funny because so then we were going down to the studio, and this was the Indie Pop Studio, their management company, worked with like a bunch of super talented, diverse artists. Did Dev and the Cataracts. Managed Bobby Brackens and Yuna and like just a bunch of shit. They just like kind of ran the gamut as far as like mixing it up, and they were in downtown LA. And then they were like, yo, we want to work with you guys. Like, we think Kyle has a ton of, and we just had the synergy with Carnage off top. And so we were just like, yeah, this is going to like get us where we need to be, because we need to be in LA, like mixing it up.
Yep.
You know,
this was what year?
This is still 2012. So this is summer of 2012.
Word.
And, you know, at the time we were working out of a studio in Oxnard. Shout out to my boy Ted Lopez, who's like been very instrumental in Kyle's career, like from the jump. Like I remember bringing Kyle and Kyle's boy Mr. Man in there, because knowing it was like the best studio in like Ventura County, like where we were at, and just like hollering at him and being like, dude, these kids are like next up, and like I'm working with them, like we're working really hard on it, we're really focused, we're gonna like come in here and get shit done. And we were like playing him some like early demo records, and he was like fucking with it. And so he brought us into his like, you know, multiple 1,000 square feet studio, like cool spot, you know, very nice spot. His uncle owned the studio and was like kind of he's like engineering and producing like a lot of like, you know, just like Mexican music, Latin music, like just tons of music from like southern south, you know, like tons of shit south of the border. And like he was like a hip hop head. Ted was a hip hop head. And so then we started cutting demos with him and like making music and like working on like the next, whatever the next project was. But so that was between like Jan 1, 2012 and then summer of 2012 when we were like, yo, indie pop wants to fuck with us. They want to move us out to LA. And they were like, you know, pretty hot management company. And they had a studio, and Carnage was there, and Kyle and Carnage were like making heat, and we're like, let's go. Yeah. So we moved in. So they moved us into this like really, really shitty apartment in downtown LA.
Perfect.
Yeah. Really shitty apartment
Welcome
downtown
to
LA. Yeah. And so yeah, and it was myself and Carnage and Kyle and this dude CP, Chris P, who's like super talented singer, producer, and then Carnage, and yeah. And so we just kind of got to it, and we started getting busy. And then between literally August of 2012 and then Beautiful Loser, Kyle's like first real project as Kyle, first thing that we were hands on with. I would kind of consider it his first like project. Mixtape kind of album thing, and put it out August of 2013. But in the meantime, you know, put that Silver Platter video out December of 2012, and then Keep It Real came out, I think it was February of 2013. And Keep It Real like got on World Star, got it to 1 million views in a week, you know, and it was like buzzy. It was like almost, it felt kind of overnight successy. Like I think the caption they put on World Star was some shit like, is this guy giving Drake a run for his money, or some shit like that. And literally went from like 5,000 Twitter followers to like 15,000 Twitter followers. And then all of a sudden it was like, now people were paying attention. Now it was like some industry buzz, or meeting with labels and like playing people mixtapes and shit playing people Beautiful Loser records months before the shit was even out. The shit wasn't even done. We wasn't even close to being done. He was like a quarter of the way done. It was like the second record he put out was like kind of started going, and we were like, oh shit, okay.
How was that for you? Because like naturally with these types, like you just gotta explain the record, or they're asking you about it. They're hearing the song and like, wait, what is this?
Like,
did y'all have the
idea
for it, like what it was gonna be, but like.
Oh, you're talking Keep It Real specifically, or
no, just like that moment.
That moment
when y'all
we're finally like you.
We eclipsed,
because it sounds like we talk about this too. Like it sounds like that was a moment where you finally crossed over, right? Like there's a time when you're an artist, and you know you have your followers, you have your fans, you're grinding, and then there's a very clear crossover pivotal moment that happens, and it sounds like this was that moment that was like boom, the tipping point where it just spilled over.
It was absolutely a tipping point, and it felt
and then kind of like
it felt fucking great. It was awesome because it was like we were. I mean, up until like if that's February 2013, it's like we're in like living downtown LA. Obviously our living situation didn't change. It was like some internet buzzy shit, but
which
it was
is
like,
actually amazing, because just to give some fucking perspective, like having 1 million views, something like that, traffic driven and that much popularity,
that's buzzy,
that's been, you know, something that's been developed for a long time, that's been grinding for a long time. You think like as an outsider, as a consumer, like, oh, they must be like either balling or doing really well or living off this shit. And it's like, we're living in a shithole apartment in downtown LA, just watching numbers rise.
Oh, like and I shit you not, when I say like Skid Row, I mean like
you were in a tent. We get it.
Yeah. We weren't on a tent, but there were tents literally outside our door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were on like between 7th and 8th on San Pedro.
Right.
So like on 6th and San Pedro, that's like epicenter of Skid Row.
Yeah.
If we, you know what I mean? We were above some flower shops and shit, so it was still a good vibe.
It's crazy.
It was still a good vibe. It was still there. The energy was great. There was tons of music being made. Chris P, my roommate, was like making really, really wavy ass like R&B shit. Carnage was like making a bunch of hip hop shit, and then kind of like pivoted and like started making more like dance music shit. Got really inspired by that and started doing that. And then Kyle was just like writing music to all of it, and like we were just like going across the street to this studio that Indie Pop had set up. And but that first spark was big because now it was like all the peers and people like we had been hearing buzzing about, they started taking it seriously too. So it was like
for you as a manager, did you feel validated, or did you feel like I could be taken seriously as a manager? Did that like cross your mind, or were you too like immersed in it to even like, I guess, be conscious of
you know, I had an interesting role on that specific record too, because I co-directed the video with my boy Jacob, and I was like I was credited as a co-director, and I like wrote the whole treatment, and I like conceptualized the whole thing, like put together all the locations, produced it as well. And so I was like very, very involved, just watching every shot, picking shots, you know, and shouts out to Jacob on that too, because obviously, you know, couldn't have done it without him as well. You know what I mean? He's very involved, but so I was like credited on the thing, and it was like, I had like a Twitter link on there, and like hella people were hitting me, like following me, going like, this video is incredible and blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of funny because I didn't really realize at the time, but the story of the video is like a pizza guy turned famous rapper. And as a pizza guy, he's like real happy. And then once he becomes a famous, like rich kind of rapper that we showed, he's like sad. And so it's kind of, and then he meets himself at the front door, famous rapper, goes to the door, sees the pizza guy, and Kyle is, and it was kind of like weird. I wasn't like trying to tell like some sort of my story, but it was just like something we had access to. I'm like, I work at this pizza place, like we can fucking, meanwhile, I'm living in downtown LA, driving home every weekend to go deliver pizzas just so I can have money. Yeah, in Ventura. In Ventura, still going home and delivering pizzas because we were making zero money. We were making zero money. Nobody put any money in our pockets. Nobody put any money in our pockets.
Listeners,
you feel me?
Listen to this.
You feel me?
Yeah.
This is what success feels like.
You feel me?
No, seriously, this is so. I love it because it's just like, man, these are the moments that I love to talk about. This is like, for me, it's like such vindication for this podcast of what those moments really are like for you, the people in it, and what you have to do. And like, you're trying to make it in this industry, like wherever you are, and it's like you have something that's blowing up. You've reached 1 million people doing this, and you're going to deliver pizzas on the weekend still because you are making no money, and that's as real as it gets. And you like, imagine, like, think about what you have to have within you to like, just the humility that kind of comes with that, right? Like, you can't like have an ego doing this.
Is this like this is 4 or 5 years in? No.
Okay, so no. Well, 4 or 5 years into the game, into the game.
2012, right?
Yeah. So we moved to LA July, I want to say 6th of 2012, and Keep It Real came out, I want to say February of 2013. Like, so here's the thing.
Whole journey.
Oh, my whole journey.
Like,
my whole journey.
Pizzas as
well, no, because I was on tour I started touring with Pac Div beginning of 2011. Okay. But it's 2 years. I mean, and from the beginning of the journey, you say I'm 18 and I'm at these shows, and like when I'm being struck by lightning, you know, and like the music gods are like choosing me, saying you need to follow this path.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, and when it's like, you know, I'm finding in my heart that I need to follow this path. Yeah, it had been 4 years at the time because I'm probably 22 or 23 by this time. I had toured a little bit. And that was the thing, too, that was crazy is like I was like moving to LA. It was a very transitional period in my life. I had gone through like it was crazy because early 2000, when I first started working with Kyle, I go through this breakup and it helped me dive in even further. Word. You know what I mean? I go through a breakup. There is like a lot of heartbreak there. Helped me dive in even more. And then I'm like, there's nothing left in Ventura for me. I'm gone. Let's go. So we take the opportunity to go move to LA. Meanwhile, but nobody puts any money in our pockets. Like, our rent is covered, but there's roaches on the ground.
How's Kyle making money?
He's not. He's not. Literally, I shit you
yeah.
not. Him and I are both eating lunch off of EBT. Him and I are using his EBT at fucking Subway.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm sorry for airing this shit out, but like, literally, he was covering me. I'm the fucking manager.
Dude, it's
I'm
so
like
important, man.
This is what
I'm the manager. I'm the
intense
manager,
point.
and like, I mean, like when I had like a good pizza shift and I like made $100 in tips, it's like I'm like, okay, cool, I got us. You know what I mean? It's like good, but like for the most part, we've like be in the studio, like, and granted, like we're at this time we're like semi working with a company, but they're understanding like it's and they're kind of like teaching us. It's like you get what you put into this.
Yeah.
It's like y'all aren't like
you kill,
you
bro.
eat, and that you eat what you kill out here. And so that felt fucking great. That Keep It Real video dropping and like us catching a buzz off of it, and it kind of like going viral like pretty quickly, and people liking it and people taking to it meant so much because I remember having the video. There's actually two things about it. So go back and watch the video, Kyle, Keep It Real.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a really good video. Obviously I'm a little biased, but I directed, produced it, but along with my boy Jacob Owens. But yeah, so Pizza Boy turned famous rapper. He's happy when he's a Pizza Boy.
Pizza Boy Records, bro.
Yeah, Pizza Boy Records. Yep.
What it do?
So, this might be the start of that. You know what I mean?
It better be. It's already started, but this is gonna be this is the slap in the face.
It's already in motion. It's been in motion.
You know what's crazy? You low-key have a pizza in hand. You knocked on the door. You opened it. You saw the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Walk into that record company owner's house because that's you, right?
Yeah. So what's funny is like so video kind of goes viral. All of like myself and Kyle and Jacob and people kind of who are credited on the thing, like people start talking to us and like interacting with us socially because they really liked it, and they were like, this is new and this is awesome. And it's crazy because in the process, so like we shot the video. It was a 2-day shoot. We shot the video at the pizza place. My boss like let me shoot the video at the pizza place, and then after hours, right? So we went in there like 10 p.m. to like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then the next day we shot it at Niles of the Cataracts crib, who had like produced some hit records, and so he had a nice crib. Like it was way back in like La Crescenta or something back there, right? He like let us use the crib. He was out of town or some shit at a show, and he was like, "Yeah, you guys can like rock in our crib." He was indie pop fam. So the second day of the shoot was like a Sunday night. I was personally supposed to work at the pizza shift, but I blew it off because I'm working on this record, and I forgot to get it taken off. I got wrapped up in it. Well, I go back into work that next week. Granted, this video is not out yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is in like, I want to say this is in November of 2012. Video doesn't come out to February of 2013. I go back into work and my boss fires me.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Really?
And he fires me and he said,
The Set It Off video.
Yeah, so he basically said, what he said to me, and he was completely right, was he was just like, like, I really respect what you were doing. This is a guy who had like come to a bunch of my events, and he had respect for me, and he like listened to all the music that I was working on and everything, and he like respected it and whatever. This is like coming off of missing work the day after this day 2 of the Keep It Real shoot.
Yeah.
And he just is like, yo, like you're living in LA, you're coming back here, you just don't seem like you're fully into it. You seem like you're getting pulled away. In the meantime, I'm like hopping in the whip, either listening to music or like trying to cook up creative ideas for like artists I'm working with or events or like whatever while I'm driving and delivering pizzas and all this shit. So he's just like, yo, like, and he was like, this just isn't working for us, and so I got to let you go. And it was crazy, but like part of me was like, this could be the best thing that ever happened to me because it's fully causing me to dive in. Yeah. And I think that is something that, giving advice to just peers and cats who are younger than me who are asking me about like how to do or what to do it, dive in. You know what I mean? Like that's what it takes. And I didn't fully, like I was dived in, but I was still like, was, leaning on my crutch, coming home and knowing I could pick up a couple extra $100 that would help me survive.
I respect that to the maximum because like you're in a game where like everybody's showing you they're good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're in a game where when you politicking with different managers or different artists and whatnot, like they're on, like supposedly.
Yeah.
But like the beauty about what you just said was that like up until that point, now granted, like that catalyst hit you externally. It wasn't like you were borderline there, like thinking about it, but then shout out to a moment which some could think is like a catastrophic ass moment, but your boss was like, yo, you fired. And that for you is like, oh, but okay, let's go, right? But like you actually had the audacity and no ego to be like, bruh, like I'm managing this artist. I know he's gonna be a superstar. We're taking advantage of everything we got. I'm still gonna deliver pizzas. I deliver pizzas.
Yeah.
Cats ask me how I'm getting funds. Like I'm not like me
Yeah.
and my artists are using EBTs together, but we got each other when we need each other. But I don't have an ego. I'll do whatever it takes to get to where I want to go.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
I don't need to be flossed out.
Yeah.
I don't need to like have a thing. Like my thing is just knowing that this is gonna work and doing everything in my waking possibilities and potential to make it happen.
Yeah, and it sounds also like the time was right. Like, you know, it's hard to have like both feet completely in when you're not making money. Like, it's really hard. You know, you have to make money. Like, you just do. You know, you can't be dead broke and really do purely what you want. Like, part of the game is making money, and whatever you have to do to get that money, you have to do. But you have to pay bills. You have to support your passion sometimes, and you have to like live in humility or sacrifice, you know, some things so you can actually support what you want to do. I mean, it's a huge part of it.
It is. And when I say dive in, I mean, like, you're right, because we were all, obviously at this point in time, you know, this is obviously prior to kind of that video dropping, but we were also in the point where I was just like, I was like, yo, when I got fired, I was like, I'm not going to go look for another pizza delivery job. I'm going to dive into this, and I'm going to focus and make this shit work.
Well, and it was the right time, too.
It was the right time.
It just, like, it spilled over.
It spilled over. It was absolutely the right time. But it was also, like, you know, I was just like, I'm creative. Kyle has a tiny bit of a fan base. Let's market some shit. Let's make some money. Let's make some merch. Let's fucking let's just like figure it out. Let's try to do some shows. Like like when you're hungry, you're gonna you're gonna be hungry. Yeah. So like, you know what I mean? Like when you're hungry, you're gonna be hungry. So like getting fired off that pizza job and being like, wow, I do not have this means of income anymore. Like caused me to be creative. I was like, I'm really good with cameras. I'm like not doing any photo jobs. I need to start doing some photo jobs. Started picking up some photo jobs. Started like just like rubbing shoulders with people and finding out like how I can, how I can mix it up. But you're 100% right. And that's why I stuck to that pizza shit for so long. And it was a bummer, dude. Like I lived in LA. I lived in downtown LA. Hella shit was popping. Like we were in the studio every day making music, bumping shoulders with people at events all week. And then when it really got lit on the weekend, I was like back to my pizza delivery job. I would be getting these texts like, we're at this function or this function. Or I'd be getting, even worse, is like I'd be getting like homegirls I knew who knew I lived in LA would like be coming out to LA, like hitting me up like, where you at? Show us around, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I'm back in Ventura at the pizza place.
Whoa, what's actually crazy, like,
bro, I'm telling you, the shit was not wavy. The shit was fucking not wavy. And that's why I have Pizza Boy Records. You know?
I fucking love that,
what I think is crazy, though, is even more is like, how you even have respect for yourself in dealing with other people who are professionals, who are like big time managers or even like middle managers, mid-time managers of like, like I think you have to have that talk with yourself of like, how serious can you take yourself and deal with that humility of like, I'm a professional music manager managing a professional artist and we're doing this and still like deliver pizzas on the weekend. It's a tough mental thing you got to deal with.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Like how to take yourself that
Very
serious,
tough.
how to take your image seriously of like when you walk into that room, like how do you exude that confidence and have that knowing that your lifestyle doesn't support that at that moment.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Especially in hip hop, dude.
That's a tough thing, man.
Bro.
But you know what it was, man? It was like we were all and I think I'm still that way to this day. Is like whatever I try to put on. I think that people have like a real knack for like, you know, you're just your spirit and your passion, your energy like shines through. And so I think that like people didn't necessarily respect me for like being some big shot manager. They just respected me for like loving this shit and going really hard.
Yeah.
And like, you know, obviously there are other things where like I would try to like keep myself together and like, you know, not be like, I you know, whatever. Yeah. I have respect for myself, but at the same time, I'm vulnerable. I'm willing to be like, this is a grind, you know? And yeah, I remember and talking to Jamil, who's G-Eazy's manager, Jamilio. Shout out to Jamil. like very early on. He was hip to Kyle's music and Carnage's music, and G was doing his thing at a very small scale at the time as well. And we kind of all bonded together, but he was very much the same way, just like really, really hungry. And he had like interesting, cool opportunities. Like he's Drake's tour manager too.
Yeah.
You know, he works on Drake's team and stuff like that. But yeah, and I was always be over at his, he'd invite me, we'd be vibing. This was like, you know, later 2012, prior to us kind of releasing music. And I would always be like, you know, like, how like I need to like stop doing this pizza delivery shit, like how do I do it? And he's just like, man, like I respect it, like keep doing what you got to do, you know what I mean? Like and we'd always be talking about like how you know what I mean, like just different things, different ways to kind of get your foot in the door and like do things to make money, because that's what he was doing a lot. Is like he was managing G and he was really passionate about G's music, but it was like he was going out on the road with Drake, which was like a total different scene.
Absolutely.
But he was, a lot of the inbound shit that he got via Drake, he was like handing off and being
it's
like,
funnel,
yo, that's
bro.
really cool, but like you fuck with Drake, that's really cool, but I also managed this guy named G-Eazy, and like he's about to be next up, and he was right, you know what I'm saying? And so like he you know, like he always talked about it as something that he like, you know, obviously he's really passionate about it, but he did it too because it was like a means to an ends, you know? And so I think that everybody, and whether they act like they're not, unless they are a big shot manager, which you would know, and you know, they would be, you'd look, and you'd get why they're a big shot manager. They're probably like doing some other shit. You know what I mean? I'm actually curious about, you know, a lot of this shit is like, cause it's hard to be a manager. If your artist ain't making any money, then neither are you, you know?
And I want to kind of jump into that is that like, there's a couple points here is one, how does your artist react if they're not making money, you're not making money? Like, that's a tough thing for an artist too. From a manager perspective, how do you keep your artist having that faith in you, or having that confidence in you that you're still gonna support them even though when the money's not there? Like, and the role of money in this, you know, because you know one thing we talk about is when you're dealing with the arts, it's tough to deal with money, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to sacrifice your art for money. You don't want to like come off as you're doing things for money strictly and selling out. There's all these like weird gray areas that you're trying to navigate, but you don't want to be broke. But, you know, how do you balance all that in this, you know?
And keeping your artist morale high and all that.
Yeah,
well, no, that's all.
Especially
it's
while
game.
being broke and being like, well, we could, and still remaining selective. You know,
like
what I mean?
as a manager, there's like a few things that you can offer an artist, right? You can offer them money. Maybe if you're a manager, that's not typically the manager relationship with artists unless they're signing different parts of their career over to the manager, which is still semi like, you know, relevant. If a manager is going to invest a bunch of money in you, they're probably going to want more than just a management commission. They're probably going to want pieces of different parts of your career, or you can offer them time. You know, and time is money, and I think that artists know that, the value of that, because they're putting time into their craft. And so like that's what I could offer right away. Was like, I mean, I had like some kind of connections halfway, and I had like a lot of ideas, didn't have any money, but could offer time and hustle and energy. And, you know, just from being a student of the game, I felt like I was like I had a pretty good learning curve for it, and I was learning fast. I was a fast learner. So yeah, I think that that's what it is like you can offer artists, and like what you're not getting out of a manager in like connections or industry plug or industry buzz or money, you can expect for like time and energy and effort and passion from them, and that can get you the same results. So that was kind of like, and that's kind of like what I still offer to artists and potential clients and stuff like that. It's like, you know, I've definitely like moved around a lot over these past few years and met a lot of people and like made a lot of really strong bonds with people and have good relationships with people and whatever. But at the end of the day, the music is what gets you in the door. Like, for example, we were like I showed all my industry friends the Keep It Real video before they dropped, and they were like, wow, I really liked the video. The song was like pretty good and whatever. And like they'd give you like their opinion on it. And then the shit came out, and then all them motherfuckers hit me back and were like, yo, I love it. It's so fresh. It's crazy, because it's like going crazy online. And it's like one of those things where it's like, it's validated. And it's like everybody's got to fuck with it. for anybody to fuck with it. You know what I mean? And so there is a lot of that too.
The wildest shit is though.
Nobody has the answers, and that's one thing that Nushi and I have talked about with this Mama We Made It shit is like we haven't made it. You know, Mama, we haven't made it.
No.
Well, but we're making it. We're making it.
It's like,
and a lot of people would say we have, but we're.
But it's wild because like shout out to the the essence of Mama We Made It.
First ever Mama We Haven't Made It on the Mama We Made It show.
Right, I'm hanging
Mama,
up the phone. Mom, I'll call you back. All right, word. Nolan's calling me. I gotta talk to him again and like see why I'm wrong right now. Hold on.
Yeah.
No, but for real, it's like it's beautiful because like you know I want to get to what making it really means, right? In your world, and we'll get there. But it's a beautiful thing because like. Looking back on your journey, there's so many like aha moments, or there's so many like, damn, like, you know, the wild shit is about even the essence of Mama We Made It. Just that thought is like the breakthroughs, right? Because like what we're doing this for is ultimately like, it's crazy because I truly feel like the ones that win are the ones that are doing it for something bigger than themselves. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. As a manager, you got to have, like, a really big heart, but you also got to be very savvy. And, like, you know, seeing your progression and seeing where you've come from, even just taking it from then to now, it's, like, a beautiful scenario of, like, how much you've grown and how much the road has seasoned your character and also seasoned your progression. You know what I'm saying? Because in speaking to what you spoke of last is, like, at the end of the day, dog, like the manager has to be the one that believes in this shit the most. Yeah. Like the artist has to believe in it, but the manager has to convince him to keep believing in it, convince him to keep growing and to keep pushing forward. And the craziest shit about your scenario is that you did this even when you're thinking to yourself like, bruh, like my artist is broke as fuck. I'm going back home delivering fucking pizzas. I'm rubbing elbows with cats that are already on, but like. It's like fuck, like the beauty of making it is that it's a fucking facade.
And to you, like, and going with that, I mean, where you guys are at now is, I mean, you guys are in a really dope place right now. You're in a nice warm place.
Yeah, but
I feel like I'm not cut you off. Not to cut you off. A campfire. You know what I'm saying?
But here's the thing: is like, you know. I think, like, from a lot of people's perspective, because I don't want to minimize this either, like, you guys have made it in a lot of ways, right? You guys have gotten, like, very, very good success, and you've lived to tell a lot of stories already, much farther than a lot of people have gotten, much farther than I personally have gotten in my artist career, to be honest. And just seeing, like, the level of where you guys got. So, like, in my personal mind, and I'm sure among a lot of people, you guys have reached a really dope level of success that I just don't feel that should be like minimized either. But like, what is to where you want to be? You know, it is about the journey, but it's like, how do you measure your success, or how do you measure success of what you're doing to get to that made it moment? Or maybe that made it moment came when you got fired from your job, you know, eating pizzas. Yeah. Like it doesn't have to mean like, oh my God, I made, you know, $1 million, or I bought my first fucking Lamborghini, or like those things, like those can come or they cannot come. But for what you're doing with Super Duper and what you guys are doing as a collective and pushing the arts and pushing your passion, where do you see your success in your journey going, or and how do you measure that?
Yeah, nah, that's such a good thing, and I love, and just to kind of touch on the Mama We Made It just concept and how it's just about the journey, and it's you know young or old, rich or poor, people that get on here and chat and have stories to tell and have carved their way. You know what I mean? Those are the people who are making it, and you know what's funny is like. There has been moments, and we touched on that keep it real moment for us when we dropped that video and it started going viral, and you know Kyle's social numbers shot up, and we started taking label meetings, and people really started giving a shit, including our friends who knew us already.
It's like no dollar in your pocket, but it's like we're doing this
exactly.
Like we did it.
Yeah, absolutely no money in our pockets. Same situation, but we were validated.
Yeah,
and you know, like.
Especially in today's
Even Mama,
age,
we made it with the respect finally.
Yeah, we're Mama. Yep, we're Mama. We made it with the respect. We're Mama. We made it with like these motherfuckers are creative and cool, and they're doing it with no bread, and they're like people. I feel like people were like damn near like labels started hitting me up for like music video treatments, and like other artists that I like respect are going like, yo, y'all, we're killing it with the visuals and like blah 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 blah, and like everyone like wants our flavor on the shit because they're seeing how we're doing it, and we're doing it with nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that a testament to that and like what you said was the other intangible, the other 5 pillars of success that I somehow neglected was you gotta just be a good fucking person. And Kyle is a wonderful human being, dude.
1,000,000,000%.
Kyle is like a wonderful human being that you know, superstar or not, whatever your opinion or whatever.
I'm gonna interrupt you like an asshole, bro. You are as well. Let's be very
thanks.
fucking real.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Because Kyle can't hit bloggers up and be like, "Hey, bro, my record's the fucking hottest. Like my record's ill." Or listen to this. This shit's hot. Because what artist wouldn't believe that? But you, as a manager, having built your clout, have to be able to hit these cats up that you have these relationships with. And validate your artist as well.
Yeah, and
you're a great person, but at the same time, you're fighting for what you believe in.
Yeah, and like I said, Kyle just being a wonderful person, Kyle like being a great person to work with, incredible work ethic, all of these other intangibles that I mentioned, him having, and then being just a great individual to work with. That's what, you know, that's why I'm going home on weekends and delivering pizzas and getting back to the grind Monday through Friday, because me and him are in the studio for 12 hours a day coming up with fucking artwork ideas, video ideas, him writing music, track after track after track after track after track, cutting, you know, just like tons of vocals, right? You know what I mean? Just like not stopping. And that's what makes that part of the grind bearable. Yeah. You know what I mean? Is working with great people. So it's like, if you're an asshole, you're not going to get to that first Mama We Made It. You know what I mean?
Right, true.
Because it takes so much grind and work ethic to get that first, with the respect, with the creative people were like, okay, these cats are like cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like that moment. And so, and then once they kind of like, I always just love those little points where you reach critical mass. I like to say is I love, because it just it now it's like, okay, now we got this you know, our pile of clay is a little bit bigger as far as a fan base, and so we can continue to mold it. You know, we got 13,000 fans. Kyle had 13,000 on Twitter. They fucking verified him. Like, we were going, oh, we're on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Mama!
Oh, getting verified, bro? Like, Mama! Oh, yeah, off top. That was a moment. And it's so cool, like, thinking back about these times, because I remember, like, you know, Kyle and I being roommates, him coming to my room, like, I'm verified, dog. I'm verified. And then us putting, like Casey Veggies has this, like, verified veggies, like, record where we just, like, played it and we're, like, dancing around the house and shit. But it's like, these were the small victories, dude. Like, and that's important. And that's something that we prided ourselves on, you know what I mean? Like, we're like some just lower middle class cats from Ventura, California. Like, we're very blue collar. Like, we're not afraid of the work, you know what I mean? We're some of the first cats who have like come out to LA and like done this and had success and like, you know, carved our way in this industry. So when we go back home, it's like, you know, it's like a little bit more like we're on hallowed ground out there as far as that vibe goes. But like, you know, we're some of the very like first cats who have like done this, you know, for compared to like people at home. So we're not afraid of small victories. We're not afraid of being humble. We're not afraid of like humbling ourselves when like, you know, people aren't beating down the door with $1 million deals and people aren't, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're like, nah, we're going to play chess, you know what I mean? And we're going to just do our best and believe in it and work our ass off, you know? And so that was the one thing. So that first like little like Mama with the respect was great. And then we were just like, yo, now we got this platform. And then we really realized, damn, cats are ready for the project. But we're not done with the project because we like are so obsessive creatively with like making the quality like the next level. So we weren't about to rush it out. So we just continued to lock in the studio and put out some other little like buzzy videos. Yeah. And he had like a fan base at this point in time. And then August came and we put out Beautiful Loser, which was his first project. Kyle only has 2 projects out. Smile is the most recent one. Mm-hmm. And then Beautiful Loser, August of 2013. You know, and so it took us a year in LA to fully put out Beautiful Loser, and that did really well, you know, like charted iTunes, and you know, for like really the first thing that we ever did, it went really well. And, you know, it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and energy and
absolutely
vibes.
Yes, you know, and that's the thing. Like, where I always feel like it's important to give perspective to people that are grinding and people that don't live in LA. You know, people that don't even live in California. That people that are so far from any taste of like the industry, that are grinding on their laptops or grinding in their local towns and towns. Who says towns anymore?
No, but it's true.
Yeah,
it's
you
true.
know what I mean?
Ventura
Like,
is a motherfucking town,
Yeah,
bro.
it's a
Ventura is a town.
But you know what I mean? Like, and I think it's just like to get perspective on like, look, like, you know, you have to. It's about the little victories, and I think those are so important, and cherish those. Those are where the memories are made, and that's where today is. You know, and those are what embraces the journey of this and why people do this. Like, you know, going into the music industry, odds are against you. You know that like you have to be broke for a really long time, and you have to be the 1% of the 1% to really be on some shit. And
it's crazy because I talk people out of getting in the music
wild,
industry,
but
because I'm like, I believe in myself like so much and shit, and it's not that I don't believe in you, but I just have to be honest with you here.
Yeah,
like it could.
You know what I mean?
It's
So you got to be able to find a needle in a haystack, dude.
It's a
As far as like everything,
and
that doesn't even fucking like.
that's just
No,
one. That's
and
just starting.
It's a very fun ride, but it's like, you know, it's not a safe ride at all. No. So all you have is your passion and your love for this, and without those little victories, you'll be defeated. If you can't acknowledge those little moments that are like, oh my God, we got verified. Oh shit, this is going viral. Oh shit, we got flown to LA. Oh shit, we're being put up in a place. Yeah, it's shitty downtown, but people care about us. They're paying our rent. And like, all those things make sense. So when you have a story to tell, you know, years from now, and you look back, you're like, maybe you will hit that wild fantasy successful moment that people have in their heads of, you know, the big mansions and all the material shit that makes it there, or reaching on a global scale of you know, 1 billion people listening to your stuff. But like, you wouldn't get even close to there without all this stuff adding up.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, as cliche as that may sound, it's just like, I think it's so important to tell kind of this journey through it, you know.
In this day and age, you know, a really important mentor in my life really like drilled into my fucking skull the battle between creativity and commerce.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like, you know, in this stage where y'all are at right now, just even moving forward, because like, I feel like that's even still a battle for that. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys are doing great work, but, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but by no means have you guys reached the financial levels that you really want to.
Oh,
right?
absolutely
it's
not.
Still, it's still a scrape it game. And one thing to really put the perspective of where we are now in terms of industry and in terms of like the powers and the levels to which digital media has gotten to, like cats have, you know, over 100,000 followers, consecutive videos now that are being put out, and little blips that are being put out are reaching like millions of views. You know, there's influence there. There's tours being had. You know, there's so many different plays being done and created from your position right now, and also what Kyle's doing to maximize his brand along with the Super Duper crew. You know, but not reaching that like we made it level yet. But the beauty about making it is that y'all are making it right as you go.
Yeah.
But how do you balance that like, I guess it's like the figment to people's imaginations that the digital world would bring you, because you think if somebody had X amount of followers, going from like 14 to where, you know, Kyle's in the high 100,000s,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And you having a circle of influence that's just continuously growing, being the humble being that you are, but also like the creative genius that you are, like managing the ship, but also knowing that, you know, not only are you eating what you kill, but also like in developing your superstar artist, in which you feel has global capacity, there's going to be a very pivotal apex point and mark of when creativity truly meets commerce.
Yeah, absolutely. And the the fun thing for me is I've always had like an entrepreneurial spirit.
Word.
So like I've always wanted to like figure out how to, from the beginning, I've wanted to figure out how to make money doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, you know, I'm kind of just like trying to figure out products around Kyle's like creative ideas and just him as a living, breathing, walking brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the crew will like clown me on it all day because I love brands and branding and all of that shit. And they clown me nonstop, but like, you know, it's how we like survive, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So it's about, you know, creating like, you know, products out of just their creativity and things that I can drum up and just different ways to make money, because as you know, we've been doing this independently the whole time, you know what I mean? And honestly, like, it's a grind, you know, it's a complete grind. And being a manager where like we talked about earlier, being just like such a small piece of like what the artist is, you know, bringing in, like for me personally, I'm just like, it's a grind, you know, and what Dan Wiseman said early on to young Noel was, you know, it's only going to feel like it pays off if you hit superstar level. Yeah. And I feel that, like, granted, reminding myself of all these small victories and all these moments.
Let's remember why you're doing this.
Yeah. Though. It's like you gotta survive and you gotta eat. And the other thing too is like, there's a lot out there to get too. Yeah, that's totally the exciting part, I think. And I think that's what, you know, ultimately keeps it going. But from an indie standpoint, and any indie artist who's like currently doing it, like understands this, that, you know, it's better for us than some, but there's also a lot of people who are doing it even more righteously than us, you know, in that respect. And so yeah, it's always about kind of improving that. And that's something that it's like, I try to not leave any leave unturned as far as that type of stuff goes. Word. But with respect to, you know, telling the story of the artist, and that's something that Kyle and I have gotten more, we've just been more in tune with that as of late, is like, what's the next step business wise that's going to help tell this story that the fans want to follow along, you know what I mean? What's the bigger play here? What's the more smarter play? What's this more smarter timing play? You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that we're working on, is just the strategy, and like really not, because a lot of it when you're starting out is just like putting shit out and seeing how it reacts and then moving accordingly. Whereas, you know, the big artists, a lot of it is more premeditated. You know, granted they don't control, like, you're not the market, right? You can't control the market. Nobody in your team can control the market. They can think what they think is hot is going to actually work. They can try to impact it, but a lot of it is, you know, it's reactionary, you know what I mean? And I think that being that way is good. Being ready to pivot and being ready to like move, being on your toes is really, really important in the music industry. And so that was something that we kind of like, you know, we've prided ourselves on doing that, but we're like even figuring out how to fine tune it even more and get bigger and better and stuff. And I think that, you know, Kyle, he wants to be like a massive global artist. He wants to be a superstar. You know, another pillar is, you know, an artist has to want to be a superstar, and wanting to do that means,
and knowing what it takes.
Because
like, man, even everything that y'all have been going through now, like, is just scratching the surface of what that shit's gonna take.
And that's
it's just like,
bro, we're just getting warmed up. And I honestly kind of feel like, with respect to like where we're at, I don't even know if we've even really started that process yet. You know, being like pretty much completely independent. You know, working with an indie company. It's like Kyle's like two essentially self-produced mixtapes in. You know, and you know we've had some resources and some things that have like been able to help push it forward. But like, I think that he has, you know, there's big horizons on the way, and we're just trying to make sure that we make the appropriate moves in order to like get there, you know.
Totally. I mean, and we're definitely gonna have you back on. Like, the point of this is like you'll be back on telling that story too. Like,
yeah.
Like, this is, you know, for where you guys are at, and what's so fascinating is just to hear, you know, the story leading up to like, you know, going through all this and to come to a point where like, I don't even know if we've gotten started yet. You know, like to me that's awesome. That's so awesome to hear that, so much that you guys have endured and experienced and worked so hard and put in so many hours to say that you haven't even gotten really started yet is fascinating and awesome. I'm super excited to hear what kind of comes next for you guys, man.
You know what's wild is that it's beautiful because like this is it's crazy how we caught you in a moment where it's like the start of where the journals are going to be, you know, in metaphorically, like the journals that y'all have been writing together in this time period are now going into like the scriptures of this play, right? Or of this movie script. You know what I'm saying? And like one thing that I really want to know, because this is such a pivot time for y'all, like, you know, he's in here. You know, y'all are really in a position where you're figuring out what deals and what scenarios are going to work for you, or if you guys do it independently. In this juncture, for you as a manager, for you as a human being, like what is for this moment too? Not like really looking like crazy ahead, but what is success for you right now? Like what is making it for you right now in terms of everything that you've done up until this point? And in validation of that, and like what is that's gonna push you to keep, you know, building and build upon what you've already been building.
Yeah, wow, that's like a good question, but yeah, no, I think that it's just like the consistent humility that you know, life is just humbling. The grind is humbling, you know, like to where like, you know, you kind of just feel like you see your potential and you know where you can get, and you know you have peers around you getting to that level, and you're kind of going like, how do we get there? Yeah. Like what about us is not getting there or whatever, you know? And so just kind of like working and like that and setting goals consistently higher and pushing the bar and raising the bar, you know what I mean? And not like, and just not stopping until you get there and putting one foot in front of the other. And like, I think that that's something that has kind of defined us, is like there is a humble element to it, and there is like a very like DIY, and like it's just us doing it, and like that's something that's cool. It's cool for the story, and like you know, being the underdog is kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like motherfuckers really want you to win. Yeah. And so when you do win, there's no like people are happy as hell. You know what I mean? Like people are happy as hell for you, and so I think that that's one thing about us that I've kind of like learned is like our grind is going to be humble. I don't expect anything to be handed to us ever. And like once you know that, then it's like it takes all the guesswork out, because it's like then you stop worrying about like, oh, I wonder if someone's just going to hand us $1 million record deal. You already know that's not going to happen. That ain't going to happen. You know what I mean? And if it does, be very wary of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Some shit that you get that you don't feel like you deserve, be weary of that shit. You know what I mean? And that's something that's like, it's just a constant reminder to just like for us to just continue to humble ourselves and just really put the work in. And you know what's funny is we were talking a lot earlier about like that 2009, 2010 group of cats, and how it was like very early internet, very early blogosphere. It was prior to artists having their own web stores even. Yeah. There wasn't like a lot of online commerce. There wasn't a lot of all that shit. And they were just putting out music very authentically, and some of it was like going, and some of these cats were getting record deals and big record deals, and then some of them were turning into one-hit wonders and like all of that, you know. And I think that that's one thing that we know though is like, you know, a record deal or whatever, a lot of times is just the beginning. You know what I mean? The work, that's like just when it starts. Yeah. Is when you have a major company that's going to like help you put your music in the right directions. It's not like that's a lot of cats around here I got a chance to watch closely, I think, like got a deal and just were like comfortable and weren't like, nah, now we got to really, because now we got a major company involved that's taking a majority of the bread. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now we got to work harder. Yeah, they're going to help us, you know.
A record deal isn't making a
record deal is starting.
A record deal is okay, and the machine's going to invest in you.
Yeah, it's like a record deal is like, okay, you're now part of the game. Yeah. You're now in the game. A record deal is, okay, you're now in the game. And regardless of how much work you've put up into this point, like I said, here we are, you know, I mean, freaking 9 years from that time that 18-year-old kid was like, yo, I want to work in the music industry. You know what I mean? There's no like instant overnight success bullshit. Yeah. It takes, and all all the people that I respect, like seeing Anderson .Paak's success as of late has been just like so cool for me. And I have like crazy stories about him. Like, you know, when I was like around this time when I was 18 or 19, my parents are in downtown Ventura and are like, yo, we're down here at this bar and this
Was
kid
he
is
Breezy Lovejoy back then?
this kid Breezy Lovejoy is absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
And my parents knowing I wanted to work in music and them being heads themselves were like, you got to come check this kid out. And so I immediately run down there and I'm like, oh, he's so ill. And so like started networking with him and kind of like becoming homies and all that. And, you know, connected him to Pac Div and a lot of these things and always believed in his music and shit like that. But honestly, never like always thinking his music was fresh and listening to like every little release he put out and always being like, it's my favorite shit personally.
Yeah.
But never knowing like, damn, it could not even happen for him. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? He was like getting older. And then like now seeing him break out, I'm like, bro, this shit is, let's go. You know what I mean? Like this shit is doable. Like he's been grinding on this music shit for a decade. I'm talking about, I mean, shit, since he was like, I had heard like, cause he went to high school in Ventura and I had even heard that like during that time he was making beats and shit and putting them online and he was like, he's been tight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not this, like around the time he was probably like 21 and I was 18 or 19, he was tight then too.
Yeah.
You know, Breezy Lovejoy, all that shit was tight. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's just, this is some new shit.
Yeah.
Like I hear this and I hear all the previous shit and so like seeing him, it happened for him at this point in time is like fucking awesome.
Special,
you know what I mean? And it
bro.
got to connect him and Kyle. They made some music together. We got to spend time on the road with him, which was really cool. And I remember I worked in a bar in downtown Ventura. I would like book him these shitty little $200 gigs. And I was like, sorry, bro, this is all I got, but I'd rather give it to you than like somebody else.
Yeah.
Because like I was literally the bar back and the fucking owner was just like, you know of any cool musicians that want to come in here and play? And I'm like, Breezy Lovejoy is like the tightest.
Yeah.
I can holler at him and see if he's down to do it. And he was like, damn, you down? He scoop up the dough. And so he would like, he's been doing this, you know what I mean? It's not new to it. And like seeing him finally break through and just seeing the respect that he's earned from like all the circles is like so encouraging and exciting. So it's like for, you know, and even someone like who's like kind of been in the industry is like, not that I doubted him, but I'm just like, yo, it just doesn't happen for everybody all the time. You know, it can just, I've seen it not happen for more people than I've seen it happen to.
100%.
You know?
100%.
And seeing G-Eazy and his crew and being really close to their crew over the last, you know, 2.5, 3 years really, and like kind of like seeing him from when he was where we're at now and him and his squad treating it like this is just starting and seeing to where it's at now is just inspiring for us.
Yeah.
They kind of, in a lot of respects, wrote a lot of the blueprint for us. They taught like, you know, his manager, Matty B and Jamil, who I mentioned earlier, like taught me so much about touring and how they like bootstrapped all their touring and how they like got their crew like super tight and taught me just the value of like a really, really good team, everyone knowing their role, being really hardworking, being really professional. And it's like, you know, they had like an idea, but like he's been doing this shit since he was like 15 or 16 years old. And here he is 10, 15 years later, getting to the point where now he's like a superstar. He's like breaking through that like threshold where he's got like hit record and shit like that.
Headlining tours.
Headlining big tours, arena tours.
Stadiums.
Big tours.
Stadium tours. Yeah. And you know, and seeing him at freaking like Kyle, you know, supported him. Literally, he was like one of the first cats. Kyle supported him in the spring of 2014. Kyle's first real tour was opening up for G. And he was doing like little 1,000 cappers and like, you know what I mean? And it was a dream. And this was 2 years ago, you know? And so like watching their growth and stuff like that is like really inspiring. Honestly, like just being a student of the game from your peers, from the industry, from everyone, and just kind of like being a sponge, soaking up everything that you can around you in order to like figure out how to apply it to your craft and your situation, and then like, you know, capitalizing on it when you can. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man. Crazy stuff, dude.
Yeah,
I love you, bro.
Dude, man.
Love you guys,
Amazing.
man.
I
Appreciate
love
that.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad
Yeah.
it's like a good. It's like I think the only time I've ever like really told, kind of like it's kind of like start to scratch. I mean, we kind of like missed some of the more recent stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah, nah.
It'll be told in the next one.
Yeah.
And
Well,
those will be the beginning of the next one.
Yeah,
exactly,
for real.
exactly.
For real.
Because it's cool for us. We're at this cool pivot point where I think that
The story's about to be told.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
man.
we're going from we got our foot in the door. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, Mama, we got our foot in the door.
Yeah.
But I love it. And like, I think, when I was talking to Anush, it was like telling your story to right where you guys are right now, even fuck the recent stuff. Like, I think telling this part of the journey is so important. Really seeing where it all began and what it takes. And I mean, you just told 9 years worth, right?
Yeah.
That's a long time. It hasn't even really popped off yet, but like it just gives that perspective of what it really takes to keep at something and to, if you really want it, if you really want to be in the music industry, if you really want to be successful at this, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot. It's going to take time and just a lot of hard work for everyone. And like, G-Eazy's not a new artist. Kyle's not a new artist.
Yeah.
Anderson .Paak is not a new artist.
Yeah,
like they're
yeah.
very, very far from it. And
Yeah.
most people are when you hear them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's just not emphasized enough, It seems like they are, but it's like, no, not at all. It's been like, so
overnight success is such a myth, Like you got to be weary. If it happens too fast for you, you got to be wary of
Very
it
wary.
because it'll get taken from you just as fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't know what you don't know what to appreciate. You don't know what that is. It's like I feel like it's a beautiful thing because so many people want to be on, but like, do you know what on is? You know what I'm saying? Do you know what off is? Do you know what you want? Do you know what you don't want? Like, a lot of people get that shot, but like, are you ready to and equipped to be able to take it? You know what I'm saying?
And you know
Wow,
what's
man.
funny is, Chance, Chance the rapper, who's like a good friend of ours, Kyle's and mine, and he has that record Blessings where he talks about are you ready for your blessings? And that's something that I truly believe is like, I don't believe that you get what you think you deserve or what you want or whatever until you're truly emotionally, mentally, physically ready for it. So if you're just focused on that, you know what I mean? If you're focused on that rather than he said, she said, and what the long-term goal is, if you're focused on just getting ready from a daily standpoint within yourself, focusing on yourself, like, that's when you start seeing shit. Because it's like, what I'm realizing is like our goals and shit that we're setting, like once we're reaching them, our mind is like we're like, looking so far ahead that all of a sudden we're achieving shit, and it's like we're so like fucking tunnel visioned on the future that it's like we don't even really enjoy it. But I can't really tell if that's like a good thing, bad thing, or indifferent. I think it's just like, personality and like how we are naturally. But like all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, we like did that. We sold out 2 Ventura Theater shows, like 1,200 cap. You know what I mean? 1,200 tickets. Like, we've done like in different like milestones. You know what I mean? We've done, like I said, Kyle went from opening up for Big Sean in 2012. At Velvet Jones to like on a record with him in 2014 or 2015. You know what I mean? Like, and that was something for us that was like, the tears were shed. You know what I mean? I remember Nate Fox of the Social Experiment, shout out to him. Like we heard that record, at Chance, and then we were in the studio with them, and Chance and them were playing the like unreleased surf project, and there was that record called Wanna Be Cool, and it was like Chance was singing the hook saying like, I don't wanna be cool, and we were like, oh my god, this is perfect for Kyle. You know what I mean? But we didn't say shit. Kyle and I just stood there quiet, and we left the studio going like, damn, if you were on that record, that shit would be crazy, right? And then so I hit Nate Fox, and I'm like, yo, like, no pressure at all, but like, send me that Wanna Be Cool record and just let Kyle try it. Like, I know y'all don't have like an extra verse, another verse on it or whatever. Or I know y'all, like, you guys only, like, they didn't have any features on it or anything at the time, and it was like kind of unfinished. I was like, send it to him, And he didn't hit me back for like 2 days. And then he says, if I send it to you, will you not play it for anybody? And you'll just have Kyle rap on it and then send it right back? And I was like, yeah, say no more. And so like, I like got it, and then I said, Kyle, I was like, yo, Nate sent me "Wanna Be Cool" with the open verse for you, you know?
Yeah.
And then Kyle like immediately took it to the studio and just like, I mean, it was like a full day, but he just like bodied it. Like you got to go back and listen to that record, but like "Wanna Be Cool," Social Experiment, Surf record. And Kyle just bodied it, and then we sent it back to him, and then like all the boys hit him, like Chance and Donnie Trumpet and Nate all hit him, and we're like, yo, this is crazy. Yeah. And so at the time, it was just, you know, Chance had the hook, and then Kyle was like on just like a verse. And then we had heard some like rumors. This was like pretty soon before it dropped. We had heard some rumors that they were like, at first we heard they were trying to get Pharrell on it. And like Jeremiah, I think, was like singing background vocals on it. But then randomly Nate was like, yo, Big Sean hopped on the record or some shit. And knowing that was one of Kyle's favorite, you know,
amazing.
We were like, wow. And like that cool story about how that was like literally the first show I got.
Mama!
Kyle booked. That was a mama moment, like, you know, big time.
Kyle was like, Mama!
Kyle was like, Mama, dog. So and then it was crazy because the story kind of goes further where Nate tells me that, and I like told Kyle, I was like, yo, like Big Sean hopped on "Wanna Be Cool," and he was like, what? And we couldn't hear it though, like we hadn't heard it. I just had confirmation because I was like, you know, whatever. So, you know, fast forward a little bit, Kyle's on his first like headlining tour. This is last summer, so summer 2015 King Wavy tour. Kyle's first like little headline run. And it's his birthday. It's his 22nd birthday. Sold out the Roxy, right? Which is like kind of a first little cool staple in LA. Mm-hmm. And then we had like we rented like a crib up in the hills, and for his like birthday party. And then the first time Nate came over and was like, "Yo, you gotta come out to the car and like listen to this shit." And so he pressed play on it. And like we heard Big Sean rapping on it, and then Kyle came on the second verse, and like the hook and just the way that record feels is just like so good. And it was like real tears, dude. Like Kyle and I were like, you know what I mean? It was a moment. It was a mama moment.
Oh my god.
You know, it's like here we are, like
fucking mama moment. Bro.
It was a mama moment. It was crazy.
Bring the psh out, bro.
Yeah, nah, it was a moment, and so. Those are like little things that continue to nudge you. You know what I mean? And there's been several moments like that, even with Chance himself and Kyle and Chance working together, and you know, us just like working in our shitty fucking apartment downtown LA. And Kyle was working with Nate, who had produced a lot of acid rap and was working closely with Chance. But Nate was at our crib and it was hot, and we were like, it was I'm forgetting what time of year it was, but then. Randomly, and Chance is like on fire at this point in time, like just cracking off, and like Chance, he had been like a homie, we had met him a few times and stuff. He was familiar with Kyle's music, but he just pulled up to our crib, downtown LA, Skid Row. Just showed up. We weren't even expecting him, and we were like, oh shit. And in our shitty ass fucking living room, like roaches and shit, but he was cool. He was in it, and like they were just making music, and then they just started singing. He just started like singing this hook on this like record him and Nate were working on, and like cut it right there. And like we had like the Sonics in the room were like the shittiest thing ever, but then it turned into "Remember Me," which is on Kyle, which is on Smile, you know, Kyle featuring Chance the Rapper. "Remember Me," which is like a really emotional record. Kyle wrote a couple of those verses multiple times based on just like not wanting to air certain shit out, you know what I mean? Like having to rewrite shit because he knew it would hurt people's feelings, and that's how personal that record got. Where like verses got wrote multiple times, where he was just like, so and that was like a real cool like
it's
moment for him, especially because him and Chance, there was like a lot of like interesting parallels, you know, like very kind of like unique sounding, you know what I mean, like. And because it kind of started happening for Chance first, we like kind of saw it and became good homies with them, and their squad is like really, really close with ours, and they always show love.
That's fucking incredible.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's fucking incredible. There's such an amazing journey ahead, bro.
Yeah,
man.
Like, shout out to the Crooked Smile. You feel me?
Yeah. Yep. Man, no,
it's so true.
We're just scratching the surface
all day, but it's been an incredible journey up to this point.
Yeah,
like,
you guys are helping me realize that.
It's even wild for me, dog, and like we've spoken on this topic is that, you know, you and I know each other. Like, I consider you a brother of mine. Like, I look at you as a human being, and I'm like, you just have this energy that shines. And I feel like, you know, shout out to the fact that for both of us, and even like with Joe and I, and like just like people in general that we happen to like cross paths with, that we know are brothers. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of how often motherfuckers see each other or this, that, and the other, it's like there's few people that you know are like, there's something there, and it's beautiful in this game, and especially in this culture, for people to like, for me especially, to like hear your story like that. Like, I know you, but now like going through all of these things, like, family, there's like so many different things about your story that I had never known. Naturally, it shines through in who you are and how you carry yourself, but the impact that the story has on me specifically as even a listener here, you know what I'm saying, is so profound, because like it makes me appreciate your journey so much more. Yeah, you may be in your mind an underdog, but like it's things like this, and hearing stories like these, and hearing a journey like this that just makes wanting to see you win that much more, that much deeper, and also having a more intimate connection with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, your story is so important, and it just takes on such a heightened level of meaning in knowing, you know, the inner workings of what that journey really was up until this point. You know what I'm saying? Even moving forward a year, 2, 3, 4 from now, y'all's journey is going to take on such a different height and such a different meaning. But everything that's happened up until this point, and also up until whenever that point comes, carries such an immense value to it. You feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. It's what built the foundation.
It's fucking
you know?
wild, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm over here just fucking smiling,
It's
dog.
wild,
like,
man.
Ear to ear, bro.
Yeah.
Like, this is incredible.
Where can people hit you up or get in touch with you?
Hit me on all the social stuff at Nolan_Smith, Twitter and Instagram, and then Snapchat more recently, Young Noel, YOUNGNOL.
Young Noel.
Yeah, and just, I mean, hit me online. Like, I like to chat. I like to let's chop it up. I'd love to mix it up with y'all.
Young Jedi, bro.
Yeah.
The young Jedi.
Oh, thank
the
you,
The
bro.
young Noel, the Jedi.
I honestly, no, a new. I mean, to kind of like, you know, mirror what you were saying is, I feel the same way. And then, like, you know, more newly with Joe, like, I like your guys' passion, and like we damn near had this conversation outside, like right when I pulled up. We got like probably 30 minutes in. We're probably like, oh wait, we should probably turn the mics on.
For real.
You know what I mean? But like this is like really what y'all do, and you guys are great at this, and so I just wish you continued, you know, success with it, and thank you so much for having me. I told Anoush, I was like, I don't know how, I was like, I don't feel super comfortable talking about this shit yet, because I don't feel like I have a story to tell just yet. But yeah, no, I mean, thank you guys for believing me. It honestly, like, it helps me believe in myself even more. And granted, that's not something that's gonna waver. But having, you know, peers who are super smart and hardworking, and like, you know, all of those things to like, you know, share with you in your journey and encourage you, and like that fellowship and that brotherhood is like so important. And totally. So thank you guys for this, and
thank you, bro.
No, man, thank you,
for
man.
real.
No,
it's love.
It's
amazing.
It's love, G.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Mama, we made it!
Yeah.
Fucking love, baby. Holla.